Good afternoon. During the declared emergency in the City of Toronto, Committee of Adjustment virtual public hearings are being conducted via WebEx, an online digital platform, and will be live streamed on the Toronto City Planning YouTube channel. These measures are necessary to comply with physical distancing requirements and a provincial order that limits attendance at public gatherings. My name is Nancy Oman, and I will be chairing this hearing. Panel members participating via WebEx who can be seen and heard are Lisa Valentini, Joanne Hayes, Carl Nipfel, and Aaron Chang. City staff will be assisting us throughout the meeting, including moderating the WebEx platform. Agents, applicants, and other interested parties participating in this virtual hearing registered in advance and will be connecting through WebEx using a compatible electronic device. Their participation will be through audio only. We acknowledge that the land we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and it is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. In accordance with Sections 45 and 53 of the Planning Act 1990 as amended, this meeting of the Committee of Adjustment for the City of Toronto is called to order. The Committee of Adjustment considers applications for variances from the provisions of the zoning bylaw that apply to the property, permission to extend or alter lawful nonconforming uses, and consent to sever property to create new lots. Anyone who wants to receive a copy of the committee's decision for an application must submit a written request by email to the general email address for the Committee of Adjustment, Toronto and East York District Office. Please include your name, address, and an email address. All Committee of Adjustment and TLAB notifications and appeal updates will be sent by email only. If you do not agree with the decision of the committee, decisions may be appealed to the Toronto Local Appeal Body, known as TLAB, or in some limited circumstances to the Ontario Land Tribunal. Appeal instructions will be set out at the bottom of the committee's decision. Participants who have registered in advance will be connected to this virtual hearing and will be muted automatically upon entry. When your item is called, each participant will be unmuted by the moderator, one person at a time. I will call each item in the order listed on the agenda. Where an application is uncontested, the agent or applicant may proceed with their presentation if desired, and when the committee does not require a presentation, applicants are to advise the chair should they wish to speak to the committee. The committee may ask questions and/or take the matter into committee for a decision. Each speaker, including the applicant or agent, will be given a maximum of 5 minutes to address the committee, and I'll comment when you're reaching the 5-minute mark. When addressing the committee, please speak slowly and clearly state your name and address. Please confine your remarks to the matters outlined in the application. Where required, the applicant or agent will proceed first with a presentation of the application, and then individuals either in support or opposed to the application will be invited to speak. Committee members may ask questions of each speaker after they have completed their presentation. When all speakers are finished, the applicant or agent will be unmuted and will have an opportunity to rebut only those issues that were raised by the speakers. This will mark the end of the discussion, and the application will be taken into committee for a decision. Please note, the committee may not entertain revisions to proposals at the hearing today. The committee may decide to defer the application if substantially revised, to ensure that the revised application is accurate and that all those entitled to notice are informed of the changes. Panel members and staff, are there any declarations of interest? Ms. Valentini.
Thank you. Item number 24, 61 Walker. I want to make a declaration. I know and work with the spouse of the agent, so I'm going to not participate in this matter.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? No? Okay. Madam Deputy Secretary Treasurer, are you aware of any files that are to be closed or withdrawn?
Through you, Madam Chair, there is one, but it's for the 4:30 time slot or shortly thereafter. It's item 41, 17 Curzon Street.
Okay, so we can deal with it in the time slot then? All right. All right, panel members. So we will start with item number 21, 128 Macdonell Avenue. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. We have a deferral request from the agent an arborist report from tree doctors, as well as a tree protection plan. And I do not show any speakers other than the agent. All right, do I have the agent on the line?
Yes, excuse me. This is Timothy Mitinides. I'm the agent for the owners.
Hi, so you are requesting a deferral to correct a miscalculation, is that correct?
Yeah, we there's a mistake in the zoning notice that we uncovered at a very late moment, and then so they need to resubmit the zoning notice to the public so everyone has a chance to see it.
All right. Okay, panel members, let's take it into committee then with respect to the deferral for this item. Ms. Valentini.
Thank you. Given that the notice is incorrect, there's no other option but to defer the matter so that proper notice can be given and the notice can be corrected. So I'd like to bring a motion forward for deferral.
Okay, do I have a seconder? Ms. Hayes? So motion to defer moved by Ms. Valentini, seconded by Ms. Hayes. All in favor? All right, that motion carries unanimously. Item number 22, 177 Manning Avenue. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, revised site plan, floor plans, and elevations, covering letter outlining the post-public notice revisions from the agent, and then we have a second covering letter from the agent. We have an arborist report and tree protection plan prepared by P&A Urban Forestry Consulting. We have a revised list of variances on a zoning and on a zoning waiver. We have a staff report from forestry that's asking for condition number 1. And we have 4 form letters in support, including number 175, the adjacent neighbor. And I do not show any opposition speakers on this one. Okay, do I have the agent on the line?
Yes, present.
Hi, Mr. Rossellini. I, again, have in my notes, if we can just go over this, we have to make amendments because it's different from the zoning notices. So my notes say variance number 4, you're changing the height to 10.98 meters. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, variance number, that was variance number 3. So variance number 4, the front wall height, 7.87 meters.
Yeah, I would also just like to highlight in here that the required main wall height that's outlined on the notice is incorrect. So it's showing 7 meters. It should actually be 7.5 meters.
Okay, just so I'm clear then, should variance number 4 read 7.57 meters then, not 7.87?
No, so it's in the required,
Okay. Oh,
it's
just,
listed
okay,
as
yeah,
7.
sorry. Okay.
It should be
yeah.
7.5.
Okay, but you're going with 7.87.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And then variance number 6, the depth, 22.51 meters.
Yes.
Variance number 7, 1.1 times for the FSI, which equals 317.73 meters square.
Yes.
You're deleting variance number 9.
Correct.
And
Yep.
variance number 12, again, the height, 10.98.
Yes, exactly.
All right, so we'll be looking at this application then as amended. I don't know if we need, I don't think we need a presentation, but the panel members may have questions for you.
Okay, no problem.
Ms. Valentini.
I was just reviewing the notice again. So the FSI is still at 1.1. That's what the notice says. It's just that the square meters was incorrect. Is that what happened on the notice?
We reduced the size of the dwelling. The
Okay.
reduced size does not change the FSI. It still rounds to 1.1.
Oh, but the meter square changes.
Yes.
It gets reduced. Okay. Okay. Thank you. That helps.
Any other questions, panel members? Okay, sir, I'm not seeing any more questions. Is there anything that you'd like to add that's not in the submission before we go into committee and make a decision?
No, I think everything else is covered in the cover letter, and we went through the amended variances.
Okay. All right, panel members, let's take it into committee for Mr. Nipfel.
I'm sorry, Madam Chairman, I should have asked this question.
Oh, okay. So we're out of committee. Go ahead.
Clarification on drawing number, the third floor plan is to the applicant. There's a terrace at the back. There's a terrace, and my drawing isn't really very clear. It's the third floor. We have to go 2 more levels up. That's it. Does the terrace only cover half of the back wall? What the space beside the terrace, is that, on mine, that's not at all clear. Is the terrace is only half of the back wall off of the bedroom, and there's where the dressing room is, that's just open to below. Is that correct?
That is a sloped roof by the terrace.
Okay.
So the terrace is flat, right? And then on the left side of the plan that we're looking at here, that's a sloped roof. That's sloping from the top of the roof down to the roof of the second. You can see this better on the side elevation. Go to drawing.
Okay.
Right, you can kind of see it dashed out in this one. And then
Yeah,
it
so
slopes beyond.
the reason for my question was whether or not the terrace needed to be screened on both edges for privacy. Perhaps it only needs it on one. Could you comment on whether you believe there needs to be privacy screening on both sides or just one side, or perhaps you don't believe it needs to be privacy screened at all?
If it was required, I think the south side would be sufficient, which is the right side. The left side, there is the sloped roof, which I think would provide the privacy.
Okay, so just on the south side. Okay, thanks. That's very helpful.
Okay,
No problem.
any other questions before we go back into committee? Okay, seeing none. All right, we're in committee. Ms. Hayes?
Thanks. I think what's being proposed is certainly not out of line with other homes in this neighborhood. The reduction or the amendments to the variances certainly improves the application. I noted from the materials that the depth, although longer than what the bylaw provides for, is actually less than the footprint of the current home. I think the variances, both individually and cumulatively, meet the tests, and I would be prepared to move a motion to approve the application if my colleagues have no other comments. So a motion to approve the application subject to forestry condition number 1 and screening to a minimum height of 1.5 meters on the south side of the third floor rear balcony.
Okay, do I have a seconder for that motion? As amended, Ms. Hayes.
Oh, as amended, yes.
Okay, and Ms. Valentini seconds. So a motion to approve the application as amendment. Do you need me to go through the variances? You're okay? All right. Including forestry 1 condition for screening on the south side. Moved by Ms. Hayes, seconded by Ms. Valentini. All in favor? Okay, that carries unanimously. Item number 23, 309 Harbord Street. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. I am showing one speaker in interest. If I could just go to that person, do you have them on the line or no?
Through you, Madam Chair, no, I sent them an email and tried to call them, but no
Okay.
response.
All right, so we don't have any speakers other than the owner. Do I have the owner on the line?
Nima, you've been unmuted.
Yes, I'm here. Thank you.
Hi, can you just state your name and address for the record, please?
Hi, my name is Reza Nima Jahangar for 309 Harvard.
Okay, panel members, we have 2 variances before us. Do you have any questions for the owner? Okay, sir, we don't have any questions. We're actually ready to make a decision on this application. Is there anything you would like to add that's not in the submissions?
Other than my presentation I was going to speak to, but if not required.
Yeah, we don't need it, but if there's a few points you want to emphasize, now's the time to do it.
Basically, what I'd like to point out is the conversion to the legal triplex as zoned in the CR zone that we're in, with no exterior modifications. The effort is to make 3 two-bedroom affordable rental units for young professionals, students, and families. The variances are minor in nature, and I hope that we're still sticking to the general plan and zoning plan. And regarding the parking, it's well, anyways, I'll leave it at that for now.
At the parking's existing condition is.
Yes, exactly. Existing condition.
Alrighty, panel members, any questions? No? Okay, let's take it into committee for a decision then. Mr. Niffel.
Madam Chairman, I believe this is a very straightforward application that's going to increase affordable housing. As you've already indicated, the current parking condition is 0, and therefore there's no change to the existing parking. And as the applicant indicated, there are no external changes to the building. I think the first variance, which is with regard to the floor area of secondary units, is minor. I believe it's a desirable application. It doesn't have any negative impacts that I can see, and it's my pleasure to move approval without conditions.
Okay, do I have a seconder? Ms. Hayes? All right. Motion to approve, moved by Mr. Nipfel, seconded by Ms. Hayes. All in favor? Okay, that motion carries. On the next item, Ms. Valentini has an interest, so she won't be participating. It's item number 24, 61 Walker Avenue. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, an arborist report from Central Care, Tree Care Limited. We have presentation materials that include images, photos, and comparative studies from the agent. Forestry is asking for condition number 2. We have 26 form letters of support from residents on Walker and Alcorn Avenue. Correspondence in opposition from number 70 Alcorn Avenue. And I am not showing any opposition speakers listed. Okay, do I have the agent on the line?
Yes, good afternoon.
Hi, I just need your name for the record, please.
Sure, I'm Brian O'Brien. I'm the architect.
Okay, panel members, do you have any questions? Ms. Hayes?
Thank you. Mr. O'Brien, you provided a lot of materials with the application, and that's always helpful. Question for you is the examples of rear decks or rear structures that were provided. I wasn't able to identify which ones of those, if any, were decks above garages that also had a rear yard. Could you tell me whether or not any of the ones you provided have rear yards as well?
Sure, it's a good question. I know that the ones that are on Walker and Alcorn do not. I believe the Roxborough and Cottingham, I believe both of those do.
Okay, any other questions, panel members? Mr. Nipfel.
Yes, to Mr. O'Brien, the concern that I think Ms. Hayes is referring to, and I certainly have as well, earlier today, we had an application with a detached garage and a deck on the top, and the planning department very forcibly objected to it and recommended the application be refused because the patio or the terrace on top of the detached garage was deemed to be incompatible with the city's bylaws. I don't see a lot of difference between that application and this application, which begs the question, Has the planning department raised any concerns to you about the deck that you're proposing on top of the ancillary garage? It's the only issue with this application I have any
Sure.
question about.
I understand that entirely. I spoke with Catherine Jung earlier in the process, and she had no concerns with it. And in fact, I would say that she specifically cited the means by which we were proposing this deck on the garage to be quite contextual in some forms. And I think that's in part largely because we have brought it in from the outside edge and buffered that edge. And so we're deliberately trying very much not to create what would be just a deck on a garage, but actually trying to embed that in the fabric of that building. And I would say that this particular lane, I understand why this is typically not permitted, to be quite honest. I think this particular lane is quite unique. There are, on the north side of the lane, there are five decks that are half over garage and half over driveway parking. On the south side, there are 26 or so decks in the back. And so there's this context, this sort of fabric of decks that line that entire passage. When you get to this particular property at 61, that's the jog in the laneway. And it's at that point that the north side to the east of our property changes to essentially being garages or carports along that edge. So this is quite a unique condition in that it sort of mediates between all of these sort of decked areas to the west and on the entire south side, and then the volumes of the garages and carports that exist to the east. And so I think there is context, and this is why we say in the members package is that there is in some ways very much contextual precedence for this because of the uniqueness of this laneway. And so we aren't asking specifically, for instance, for more height than would be otherwise allowed, and could in fact build this garage, I think, to this height without the deck. But we're deliberately trying to embed that deck into the volume of this garage so that it is usable. It's a sort of green island in the middle of this laneway, but isn't just another deck on top of a garage.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions, panel members?
I wish the last applicant have this kind of creativity.
Okay, Mr. O'Brien, we're ready to go into committee. Anything you want to add? We've read all the materials.
No, happy to answer any other questions, but otherwise I appreciate the time.
Okay, I don't see any other questions, so we'll take it into committee for a decision. Ms. Hayes?
I'm just going to make a couple of comments first, and I'd like to hear what my colleagues have to say. I'm struggling with this one a little bit. From a context perspective, I see that there's a lot of raised decks, but most of the ones that have been presented in the immediate context are actually sort of extensions of the house versus a house, a rear yard, a garage, and a platform on top of it. So contextually, it may not be out of character in terms of viewed from the laneway, but I'm struggling a little bit with it because of the prohibition under the bylaw in terms of being on top of an accessory structure. Most of the other decks that are in the immediate context are not situated on top of an accessory structure. But I appreciate hearing my colleagues' thoughts.
Okay, any comments from the other panel members? Mr. Cheng?
Yes, I somehow agree with the applicant's point of view that it is like the laneway is not straight and it is exactly at that angle. So I see there's an opportunity that having a something a little bit different, which is still, I think, matching with the context of this neighborhood. And I can see that he had designed a landscape, the green roof, around the perimeter of the roof deck. I mean, a lot of time you use that as a buffer so you don't fall down from it. But here at the same time, it also helps to create some sort of privacy for both the occupants and the roof deck and the neighbors. So I think it's a pretty good, nice detail that actually helps a lot for me to support this application.
Mr. Nipfel?
I'm in agreement. I'm in agreement with Aaron. I had trouble with the fact that we had two garages with decks on the top, and planning spoke very forcibly against one and didn't comment on this one. And I think that as Mr. O'Brien indicated, it's a contextual argument. I agree with Aaron. I think that the circumstances here are somewhat different. I also think that the architect's response here is really very, very good, which, as Aaron has already indicated, the deck is in the middle of the building with a green roof all the way around the edge, which creates a buffer between that rooftop use and any adjacent uses. So I think the solution is really good, but notwithstanding, it requires a lot of analysis to get to this point. I, like Aaron, am happy to support this, but without delving into it, it looks as though we're approving one and not approving another, and they're the same thing. I don't think they are. I think contextually, this is a different issue.
I just want to add that if we are going to approve it, I would say let's tie it to the plan submitted. So we're pretty sure that the landscape is attached.
The other thing I wonder if I might mention, on drawing A205, the purpose of the application indicates that there's a third floor deck or balcony, and I don't read that as being the case. It looks to me from drawing A205, yep, you just had it there, that what is being interpreted as a deck or a balcony is in fact an inaccessible green roof. It runs around two sides of the third floor, but it doesn't appear to be accessible at all. It isn't something that would generate activity that would be a disturbance to neighbors. So I think perhaps the purpose of the application could be amended to clarify that that isn't a deck or a balcony so much as an inaccessible green roof.
Okay, staff is making note of that. Did one of you want to move a motion on this then? Mr. Chang, did you want to move a motion or?
Yes, I would like to make a motion to support this application, but it has to be tied to all the plans in the submission.
Okay, and there is a forestry.
And yes, and the forestry number two condition attached to the approval as well.
Okay, and Mr. Nipfel, you're seconding?
Yes, I am.
All right, so motion to approve forestry condition number 2 and a condition to tie to plans. Moved by Mr. Chang, seconded by Mr. Nipfel. All in favor? That carries unanimously. All right, item number 25. 108 Mayfield Avenue. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. We have a staff report from transportation asking for conditions, and that's in our supplemental agenda. Do I have the agent on the line? I don't have any other speakers listed.
Yes, good afternoon. This is Ben Domingos, the agent for this particular project.
Okay, you're aware of the transportation conditions?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Panel members, do you have any questions on this one? Ms. Hayes?
Yes, it's just with respect to the transportation condition memo, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I understood from reviewing the application that you were still intending to have a car parked in front of the, what you're proposing to be the former garage, and transportation is indicating that they would want that curb cut restored. And so they're presuming that there was no going to be any driveway there. Did I read your submission correctly?
Not exactly. What the intention is actually to apply for a parking pad in that location, which is also included in the comments from transportation. That was an alternate option to this condition in terms of dealing with the existing driveway. So the intention is to apply for a parking pad. There is no intention to continue to park there after this renovation is completed, without applying for a legal parking pad first.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, panel members? Mr. Nipfel?
So just to clarify, your intention then is to leave the driveway and the depression as it is,
Yes, correct.
and to use, if you get an approval, to use it as a parking pad.
That's correct.
So if the parking pad is not approved, then I believe the transportation condition needs to stand. So I'm kind of challenged to try and figure out how to cover both in a decision today. We can't predict whether you're going to get the parking pad approved, and if you don't, I agree with transportation that the driveway and the depression need to be adjusted.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Sorry.
I
Could we put a condition in that in the event that a subsequent parking pad is not approved, then the transportation condition would apply? Or have you got a suggestion as to how we might word something like that?
well, I would be okay with leaving the condition as stated by transportation. Basically, what they're saying is they're giving us a choice. If we can't get the legal parking pad, then we have to landscape that space. And so,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay. Anything you want to add before we take this into committee, Mr. Dominguez?
No.
No?
I think I'm good. Yep.
Alrighty. Let's take it into committee for a decision then.
So just wanted to just have a comment on something. So Carl, to your point, if the parking, so the condition with respect to what transportation put in, and that we don't know exactly what will happen. If they don't issue a front yard parking pad, variants 4 and 5, like our decision would stand. Like, are there do we have any concern with respect to how, maybe I'm just overthinking it, sorry. If transportation doesn't grant it, they can't have, they're gonna have to, they won't be able to park in front. So whether or not 4 and 5 are in place, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Nipfel, go ahead.
I was just going to say that I don't, other than this issue of the driveway and the depression being readdressed if a parking pad isn't provided, I don't have difficulty with this application. I think it's straightforward and reasonable. And I frankly misread the transportation condition. I didn't read it as an either or. As it is an either or condition, then it seems to me that approval subject to the transportation condition covers both options. And on that basis, unless my colleagues have other concerns, I'd like to move approval of the application subject to the transportation condition, which is in our supplementary agenda.
Okay. Do I have a seconder, Ms. Hayes? So a motion to approve, including the May 11th conditions in the transportation report. Moved by Mr. Nipfel, seconded by Ms. Hayes. All in favor? Okay, that carries unanimously. Next item is item number 26, 405 Palmerston Boulevard. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans and elevations, revised plans and zoning waiver, covering letter from the applicant, and as well as presentation materials. We have a deferral request from the architect, staff report from community planning, asking for condition, and we have correspondence in support from the neighbor at 403. Do I have the agent on the line?
Yes, this
Hi.
is Gloria Postolou. Hi.
Hi, Gloria. You're asking for deferral, and if I read that you don't want to come back until after the 1st of September. Is that correct?
Yes, the owners would like to be here for the hearing.
Okay, and so this is to consult with planning.
To consult with planning and, yes, the community planning to understand the comments and see if we need to modify the design as a result of these. We also had a request from the planner to improve our rear landscape area, and we did. We removed the proposed swimming pool and some hardscape. We'd like to reconsider that as part of the design too. That might preclude the owners from having a swimming pool at a future date. So we just wanted to be able to react to both of these items that were submitted to the file 10 days ago.
Okay, so we'll look at the deferral, and there won't be a time limit on it. It'll just come back when you come back with your updated application, okay? So let's take it into committee, panel members, on the deferral. Ms. Hayes?
Given the comments made by planning, I think it's appropriate that the applicant have the opportunity to have whatever discussions are necessary with them, and if it's determined that they wish to make any adjustments, then we will have an application before it that has been fully vetted and discussed with those departments. So I would move for a motion to defer the application until after the September date as requested by the applicant's agent.
Okay, do I have a seconder? Ms. Valentini? All right, motion to approve, moved by Ms. Hayes, seconded by Ms. Valentini. All in favor to defer? Okay, that carries unanimously. Item number 27, 31 FRIZZELL Avenue. Copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. An arborist report from Cohen and Master Tree and Shrub Services Limited. An order to comply issued in June of 2021. Presentation materials from the applicant. Correspondence in opposition from 532 PAPE, and I don't have any opposition speakers listed. Do I have the applicant on the line?
Eileen, you've been unmuted. If you can try to unmute yourself on your own device.
Hi, sorry about that. It seems to have worked now. Yes, I'm here as the agent. And before we start, I just wanted to make a comment that the committee member may not actually remember the name of the co-owner of this property, but the co-owner of this property at 31 FRIZZELL Avenue is actually a co-owner in a paused litigation with one of the committee members as a co-owner of a business as well.
Okay. All right, I can't speak to that, so if somebody here feels they need to stand down, then I leave it up to you to have a look at the names of the owners and see if there's any recognition here.
Can they repeat what I don't know if I understand what
I think that what was said is that potentially one of the members was part in a litigation issue with one of the two owners, so I'm not sure if that was Like in what way? I don't know.
Yeah, so the co-owner of the property here, Marco Lowe, is in a pause litigation with one of the committee members, actually, as a co-owner of a business.
Maybe that's me. Is Marco Lo the owner of Magenta Health?
Yeah, that's correct.
Oh, I am so sorry. I didn't know that. So I
That's
guess
okay.
I
I
excuse
figured it,
myself.
yeah, it may have just been a memory issue, so I didn't want to, but I
Thank you,
just wanted
thank you.
to give
All
that.
right, I'm just gonna leave the committee for now.
All right, thank you for pointing that out. So let me just make a note here. Okay. All right, I don't think we need a presentation. However, are there any questions from any of the panel members? Ms. Hayes.
Thank you. I wanted to know if you'd had an opportunity to read the letter of objection that was filed a little late. Speaking with problems with the turning radius for the property and past issues with respect to hitting the car of the person at 532 Pape in navigating in and out of that parking space. Just like to hear your submissions with respect to that.
Sure. Yeah, so we did have the opportunity to read it, and actually we did speak with the owner 532 Pape yesterday after we became aware of the letter. So a couple of points in regards to this. As you know, this is going to be a reconstruction of a pre-existing garage on the same footprint and same setback, and we did that in order to minimize disruption to the surrounding trees. So as was set out by Mr. Cramp in his letter, the car hitting his car was actually from the previous owner of 31 FRIZZELL. And we've actually been at this property for 8 years now and have parked in that garage for 8 years without hitting his car. That being said, we do recognize that it is a narrow lane, and in this iteration of the garage, we wanted to mitigate any concerns by widening the garage door to give a bigger turning radius for our car as compared to the previous garage. So that would be in the plans as well. And you can see that in the supporting documentation, what the old garage door looked like. Secondly, there's a garage actually that was recently reconstructed as a carport immediately south of us at 26 Dingwall that has the same orientation and turning radius into the laneway with other cars as well. And a permit was issued, and this garage at 26 Dingwall, or that is now a carport, is actually in a larger footprint than the previous garage, which you can again see in the supporting materials as well. Because this letter of objection was late as well when we saw it, we did speak with other surrounding neighbors, and we've actually received 3 letters of support that we can either email or share with you on screen from neighbors, 2 of which are on that laneway, and 1 is directly adjacent to us as well, who are supportive of the reconstruction of the garage. And finally, wanted to make a note of the fact that there are 8 garages or carports on the laneway of a similar narrowness, I guess, or width, directly south of us between Dingwall and Vaughan Avenue, just off of Pape.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Mr. Nipfel?
I wondered, to the applicant, I was wondering if you've had any discussions with engineering on this application. And my reason for the question is, in the past, when we've had requests like variance number 3, engineering has always objected and asked that we retain the 2.5 meter original, the setback from the original center line of the lane. There may be reasons here why that isn't applicable, but it's unusual that they have not commented. Have you had discussions with them?
Yes, so the drawing was actually done by a structural engineer that we retained, so Yu Ching Lee at YCL Engineering, and they felt that because of I'm not sure, I'm not a structural engineer, but they had felt that the existing concrete slab was actually appropriate given the weight of the structure that was going to be re-erected on that same footprint. So they did not seem to be concerned about the setback or retaining the current slab as it is.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, panel members? Okay, there are no further questions. Is there anything you would like to add, Ms. Lam? Chung? Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, is there anything you'd like to add? We're actually ready to go into committee to make a decision. We don't have any further questions. Anything that's not in the presentation materials?
No.
Okay, thanks. All right, panel members, let's take it into committee. Ms. Hayes?
Thank you. In the absence of comments from transportation objecting to the lane, center lane issue, and the fact that the submissions are that this is being rebuilt on existing foundations, I'm prepared to support the application with no conditions.
All right, do I have a second? Is that a motion?
Yes, if my colleagues have no other comments.
I saw Carl's hand up set to second, so I think we're good.
Okay.
All right, so motion to approve, moved by Ms. Hayes, seconded by Mr. Nipfel. All in favor? Okay, that motion carries unanimously. Item number 28, 17 Austin Terrace. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 2 photographs of trees on the property, presentation materials from the agent that were received late and are in the supplemental agenda. We have a 27 signature petition in support from residents on Austin Terrace, Wells Hill, and Lyndhurst Court. And we have correspondence in opposition from number 19. And just as note, the petition does include one of the adjacent neighbors at number 15 as being in support of the application. And I believe that the objections from the neighbor on the other side relate to no consultation, character, doesn't fit within character, sunlight loss, massing, and privacy issues. All right, do I have the agent on the line?
Yes, it's Heather Doubledam.
Okay, I do believe I have the opposition. Do we? Yes? Okay. So can I have you do a presentation? We'll start the clock now, 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you. So this proposed new home is for a family of 5 who need more space. And there are a few unique circumstances that create the conditions that triggered these variances. So I was hoping just to kind of go through each of the variances very briefly and explain why they've been triggered. So the first one is related to soft landscaping, the requirement for soft landscaping. So this variance has been created because there's no garage actually within the footprint of the house. The owners have chosen to use that space for an interior garage type space for storing bicycles and garbage bins and that sort of thing, but not to park the car because of the width of the house and the properties and being able to fit a car comfortably. There's an existing driveway on the lot, and that's where they park their car. So because of that, the area of the driveway is counted in calculating the amount of soft landscaping. And if you remove that area of the driveway for the normal calculations, it would actually be 79%. So if there was a garage inside the house, there would be 79% of soft landscaping, which is above what's required. So it's really just about the garage. Actually, the majority of the variances are related to the fact that there's no garage within the footprint of the house. The second one states that parking space may not be located in the front yard. Again, this is because there's no garage, because the parking space would be within the garage. That also relates to the fourth variance, the fifth one, which says that a parking space is required to be provided on site. And so it's a bit of a catch-22. So the owner will be applying for a parking pad on their existing driveway. And the only reason they would have to do that is because they don't have a garage within the house. And then the third variance is related to floor space index. So again, that's tied into the garage, and that the garage area isn't deducted from the total FSI. And also there is a space up within the sloped roof for one of the bedrooms for the family, and a small study for a workspace. So if you subtract those two areas, like the height conforms to the zoning, the height of the peak, the height of the main wall, and if you subtract those two areas, it's actually not as significant an increased FSI. It's actually 0.72, which is much closer to the required number. The fourth variance is the front yard setback, and this is a unique lot. If you refer to the site plan, the front and rear lot lines are on a sharp angle, so the lot is a parallelogram, and all of the homes on the street are parallel to the side lot lines. And so because the front lot line cuts on an angle, there's a tiny little corner just at the front that projects into the setback at the front. And the existing dwelling that's there on the site right now has the same condition. It doesn't conform. That's that tiny little corner right there doesn't conform to the setback required from the front lot line. The existing house is also wider, and this proposed house will have wider setbacks from the side lot lines, which create extra space at the side, both sides of the house. So everything else is conforming to the zoning in terms of the height and the side yard setbacks, rear yard setback. I already went through the parking space for number 5, which is also the same variance for number 6, because there's two different bylaws in effect. So they're the same variance for the two different bylaws. I also wanted to mention that the house is basically terraced. The massing is broken down on the front and the back. It steps in as it goes up. So it's trying to pull the upper volumes back to bring light in to the surrounding areas, and then also reduce the kind of massing at the back of the house. And actually the rear neighbor behind my client commented that they're very appreciative that the volume of the house is less imposing at the back. My client spoke to every single neighbor within the 50-meter radius. They also spoke to their neighbor at number 19 on April the 22nd, prior to them submitting a letter of objection. They had a conversation about what was proposed. It was documented in an email. And also they have been having a similar conversation previously for many years that eventually my client was proposing to do this.
You're over 5 minutes. Can you wrap up, please?
Okay, I just wanted to really briefly address their concerns and alleviate them, the main ones being sunlight, views, noise, and privacy. The back of the house faces south, so there shouldn't be any reduction in sunlight whatsoever. Their plants won't be affected.
I'm gonna have to cut you off because you are gonna have be able to rebut after they speak, so you can address those issues at that point.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks. Okay. Do you have? Yep, great.
Pat, you've been unmuted.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. Can you please identify yourself for the record?
Yes, it's Pat Parisi, representing the family at 19 Austin Terrace. I'm the owner.
Okay, sir, you have 5 minutes. We're going to start the clock now.
Okay, thank you. The main objection, I guess, would be the variance number 3, whether there's a garage implication here or not. The end result, which will be unalterable, will be that we will have on our eastern side a massive structure, brick wall. The house already protrudes beyond our home, the back, as it stands. It will go on even further, and indeed our sunlight will be cut off. I've sent photos of the privets that are there, and it's complete open sky. The house backs onto trees, so it's really it's our way to watch sunrises and enjoy the sunlight. We have a very sort of rich garden. The lack of sunlight will indeed kill plants that have been there for a long time. Also, there are privacy issues on that side of the house and facing back. we have windows. All our windows are on either the front, back, or on the east side. We have none on the west side. So essentially, a lot of green space will be taken up. This huge structure will impose on our privacy, our sunlight, and in terms of its proportion to the lot, it's basically just wiping out green space and carbon sinks, for that matter, if anybody's interested in that topic. So we were never consulted on what the structure would be like. We would have been happy to have negotiated these particulars. We just basically were handed a piece of paper and said, here's what's going on. So I know other neighbors have signed because they're not as directly impacted as we are. I mean, if I lived in the next province, I would sign too. They might as well be there because they're not going to be impacted. I understand, noise, dust, etc. I have no issues with people building on their lot, but it's the nature of the excessive build, the brick wall that will essentially just close our house up and really undermine any joy that we've had for all these years in our yard, where our kids have grown up, etc. And it also sets a precedent. Once they do it, the next house will do it. And eventually we will have just a row of concrete homes with very little green space, and that's our issue. So once again, the privacy concerns, our windows will be looking at brick, no longer sunlight, trees, mostly in the back. Also the front will be obstructing, and our privacy. There are terraces and decks, etc. that look at our back bedroom windows, our kitchen window here. If either we're obstructed or we'll have people sort of on top of us or to the side of us, interfering with our privacy. And I've also included photos of homes directly behind us that are of a certain size. People typically will add to the homes sideways and renovate, within a reasonable footprint. This one here, again, we are directly impacted, will severely diminish any kind of lifestyle we can have here, and kill, plants, etc.
Okay, panel members, do you have any questions for the speaker? All right, Mr. Parisi, thank you. Ms. Doubledam, are you there?
Yes.
Can you address only the issues raised? We'll restart
Yes.
the clock.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So as I was starting to mention earlier, that the orientation of all these buildings, if you refer to the site plan again, because of the angle of the road, all of the houses on the street start to step back. So all of the owners look at the side of a wall. Actually, there's another, if you go to the photograph of the front, there's another overhead Google view of the site. There's a document that shows an overview. Just there you go. You can see that these two houses, my client and the adjacent house, are the two of the smallest in the neighborhood. But because of the angle of the street, all the houses step back. So each of the neighbors, see the 17 Austin Terrace red dot there, they're looking at the side of their neighbor's house as well. It affords them a great deal of privacy in that the neighbor on the east side isn't, the activity in their backyard doesn't interfere with the adjacent house. So regarding sunlight, there will be no loss of sunlight, because if you look at where north is straight up, they have access to sun from the east, from the south, and from the west, so it won't have any impact on their plants and trees, having a longer wall on that side. Regarding views, the windows, all those photos were taken on an angle through windows on the back. So all of those views will be preserved. There's only one small window on the east side of their house, which actually is closer to the front, and the front steps back, so they'll have a view through that window as well. They also have windows on the east, their west side as well. The other thing is that because of all the different step backs, of the house, there's absolutely no lines of sight from any of those terraces into their backyard at all. And the proposed deck is away from where number 19's deck is, quite significantly away. There's a lot of vegetation along there, hedges and that sort of thing, so there shouldn't be any issues with privacy or noise. But the big thing is that those small terraces have green roofs around them, so regardless of where you stand on the second floor little deck, which is on the protruding volume on the bottom of that drawing there, you can't see into the neighbor's yard. There's no angle in which you could see. And there is also a small terrace on the third floor. Both the second floor and the third floor terraces have green roofs around them. There's a big green roof on the front of the house where it steps back to. So there isn't any reduction in green space. There's the same amount of green space at the front of the house. There's a little bit less green space at the back, but the deck is also permeable, and all the green roofs, because there's a total of 4 of them, are also permeable as well. So it shouldn't have any impact in terms of rainwater runoff. So we don't feel that any of the concerns that they've expressed will be major concerns for them once the house is built. And my client did actually speak to the neighbor 4 days before they submitted the letter, went and spoke to them in person, and they did have a conversation. Maybe they didn't have time to process all the information till later, but they would be happy to speak with them again about it. But this has been something that's been planned for many, many years and communicated earlier on.
Okay, thank you. Panel members, any questions? Ms. Hayes?
I recognize or acknowledge that there's no length or depth variance, but just for the purpose of discussion, what change is there? How much further out is the first story of the new house from the rear wall of the existing house?
It's approximately 8 feet.
Thank you.
Any other questions, panel members? Mrs. Valentini?
So just to follow up on that, so, and then the second floor step back, how much from the first floor? First floor is 8 feet beyond the current rear wall of the current house, and then the second floor, that step back, is that correct?
Yeah, it's another 8 feet. It's 2.74 meters.
So that step back another 8 feet, and then the third floor from the rear is step back again?
Yes, actually it's 9 feet over the second floor, and then the third floor is step back about 5 feet, additional 5 feet. So if you look at the third floor plan, which is further down in this document, you'll see all the different steps as they go back.
Right, and so then there's a second floor in line with sort of the current wall of the current house?
No,
or the wall of the current.
It is further back. It's not in line. It's a bit further back, but you can see all the different step backs on the left-hand side of this drawing.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, panel members? All right, thank you. Let's take it into committee. Mr. Cheng.
I like the strategies a lot. I think, the architect have placed a lot of green roofs and multiple levels and reduced the height. It breaks down the mass. It looks, I mean, from the numbers, it looks big, but when you look at the design, when it, composed together, I think it's very sensitive. And that's my comment. So I would support this application.
Mr. Nipfel, and then Ms. Valentini.
I agree. I think it is a very sensitive solution. It is terraced. The other thing that I would note, looking from the side, the elevation drawings are perhaps misleading. The building looks much taller than it is. The top portion of, wait a minute, I'll just pull up the drawing so I can make my point. If you look at drawing A3.2, or actually the other side as well, the top portion of the building is actually severely sloped. It's a pitched roof over the top third floor. I think this drawing is particularly misleading if you were concerned with height. I don't think the actual building will appear quite as high as it appears in this drawing. The other thing that I think is rather well done is on the terracing at the back. As the applicant indicated, she's placed green roofs on either edges of them, so that, similar to the terrace that was on top of the garage in a previous application, you can't actually go right to the edge of the terraces and look out. There's a green roof to create an intermediate barrier there. So I'm inclined to agree with Mr. Chang. I think it's a sensitive solution that's done a fair bit to integrate into the community. I think the staggering of the placement of the house is advantageous as well, and I don't have difficulty supporting this application either.
Ms. Valentini, did you have a comment, or I thought I saw your hand up?
I did. I was just going to express my support as well, but I'm not going to, it just in terms of the massing and the step back at the rear. So I think Mr. Nipfel and Mr. Chang covered it sufficiently. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Chang, did you want to go ahead with the motion then?
Yes, I would like to make a motion to support this application based on our discussion.
Okay.
Don't see any condition.
No, unless I'm...
I guess I would say tied to the plans just because of
Yeah.
the way the roof is being designed, and the reason why we supported design is purely because of this stepping backs of the landscape. So I hope that it can be tied to the plans.
All right, we'll put that in as a condition for your motion. Do I have a seconder for that, Mr. Nipfel? Okay, so motion to approve, including a condition to tie to the plans, moved by Mr. Chang, seconded by Mr. Nipfel. All in favor? That motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Item number 29, 12 Davis Crescent, Davies Crescent. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, supporting emails from Mr. Brander, the agent, and we have a staff report from TRCA, and they don't have any concerns. I don't have any opposition speakers. So Mr. Brander, are you there?
My name is Adam Brander, and my address is 49 Bolton Avenue in Toronto, and I'm the agent and the architect for the proposal at 12 Davies Crescent.
Okay, I don't think we need a presentation. Members, do you have any questions for Mr. Brander? Okay, Mr. Brander, there's no questions. We've read the materials. We're ready to take it into committee. Anything you want to add before we go into committee?
No, just happy to answer any questions.
All right, let's take it into committee for a decision then. Ms. Hayes?
Thank you. I think that with TRCA having no objection to the top of bank variance, the other variances, both individually and cumulatively, I believe are quite minor. I think what's being proposed is not out of character, and I would move a motion to support the application with no conditions.
Do I have a seconder? Ms. Valentini?
Before I do that, I was just looking at, I'm just looking at this again. Is there like a rear two-story addition as well? Just to fill in that back notched corner? I don't know if we need to acknowledge that in the purpose of the application. Right in the bottom corner on the left.
Sorry, no? I thought you were in committee. Yes, there is.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't know if it makes a difference in terms of the purpose of the application, but it's not just a full second story addition.
Oh, I see what you mean. It's a second story addition and then a two-story
Rear
addition
two-story.
plus a full second. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Does that, I mean, I know it doesn't change the variances, but anyway, I just wanted to make sure I was understanding that correctly because I reread the purpose of the application and I was like, wait a minute, there's something else going on. Yeah.
Yeah, the purpose could be tweaked a bit, I think.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so what is it you're suggesting then? With the purpose?
I guess a rear or side two-story, rear and side two-story. I don't even know how to, maybe rear two-story addition.
I think if it was a rear ground floor deck, a rear one-story addition, and then a full second story.
Oh, that, okay. That makes sense.
That seems to be how they're generally worded in other ones. So
yeah.
You okay with that, Mr. Brander?
Yeah.
Okay. Is that okay, staff? Okay, so the staff will make that change then. It doesn't.
And I'll second the motion.
All right, so the motion is to approve the application. Staff will adjust the purpose. Moved by Ms. Hayes, seconded by Ms. Valentini. All in favor? Okay, that motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thanks. I'm sorry? Oh, okay, thanks. All right. The next item, item number 30, 76 Ashdale Avenue. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. We have 2 photographs of the subject property, and we have correspondence in support from number 88, Ashdale, and 4 form letters in support from 4 more properties on Ashdale. I do not have any opposition speakers, just the agent. And there's no conditions or other submissions. Okay, do I have the agent on the line?
My name is Macdonell Avenue. I'm here representing 76 Ashdale Avenue, and I'm with Replacement Design located at 911 Davenport Road.
Great, thanks. We don't need a presentation, I don't think. Any questions, panel members? Mr. Nipfel.
Very quickly, could you tell me if the attached semi-owner is in favor of this? I don't, unless I've missed it, I don't see any comments from them.
Yes, they did respond. They've signed a letter of support, which is part of the 4 that were mentioned earlier. And yeah, there's plenty of examples in the neighborhood for similar types of additions.
My mistake, I missed that. Sorry, thank you.
Sorry, did you say 78 signed a letter of support?
Yeah, it's the 3rd one in the attachment that you recognized as form letters.
Okay. Sorry, because I missed it too, because it's not showing on my sheet either, but I'll take your word for it.
It's on the screen right now. We were having trouble with this agenda originally, so we've missed some things, but if you look on the screen now, you can see it.
Yeah, I see it. I think on my sheet, maybe it was mistaken as, no, I don't know. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But Mr. Nipfel's right. We were having a lot of technical issues going through the afternoon agenda, so. All right. Any other questions? Anybody? No? Okay, we're ready to go into committee. Mr. De Oliveira, anything you want to add before we go into committee?
Just want to point out the neighbor was in support, which we just did, and yeah, the FSI currently is already over, so anything we were going to do is going to push us even farther above. And there's other examples in the area, such as 72 Ashdale, which go well beyond what we're asking here, where they got approved for 1.04 FSI, and we're just asking for 0.82. So we're well within other approvals in the area, so I think it's pretty straightforward.
Okay, let's take it into committee for a decision, members. Ms. Valentini?
So I agree this is a very straightforward application. I don't think this proposed 2-story addition at the rear is going to have any impact on sort of adjacent neighbors. In fact, the neighbor attached is in support, as are other neighbors in the vicinity. And I also agree that it's in keeping with some of the other FSI that have been approved in the neighborhood. And as Mr. De Oliveira said, 72 is already well over that. So I'd like to bring a motion forward for approval of the application without any conditions.
Okay, and that's seconded by Ms. Hayes. So motion to approve, moved by Ms. Valentini, seconded by Ms. Hayes. All in favor? That carries unanimously.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Yeah, you too. Thanks. Item number 31, 494 Riverside Drive. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, revised site plan, tree preservation plan from the agent, as well as a site plan diagram, which came in the supplemental agenda. We have email correspondence from Ravine Natural Feature Protection as well as TRCA. Neither one of them have any conditions other than the standard permits as required. And I don't have any opposition speakers. Do I have the agent on the line?
Yes, hello. Do you hear me?
I can hear you, yeah.
Hi, it's Robert Kostelic, architect at AKB Architects, and I'm the architect and agent for the owners of the property.
Alrighty. Panel members, we have 2 variances before us. Do you have any questions for the agent? Okay, sir, we don't have any questions. We've read all the materials. We're ready to take this into committee for a decision. Anything you want to add that's not in the submissions?
No, thank you.
Okay, let's take it into committee for a decision, panel members. Ms. Hayes.
Thanks. I think this application is indeed very minor. The existing FSI is 0.55. They're asking 0.62. The top of bank issue is of no, TRCA has no concerns. I don't think that there is any tremendous impact from what's being requested, certainly not out of character. I think it meets the 4 tests, and I would move a motion to approve the application with no conditions.
Okay, Mr. Nipfel wants to second, so motion to approve, moved by Ms. Hayes, seconded by Mr. Nipfel. All in favor? Okay, that carries unanimously. Item number 32, 298 Keele Street. We have
Thank you.
before us a copy of plan of surveys, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. We don't have any other correspondence. No opposition speakers, and we have one variance before us for floor space index. Do I have the agent on the line?
Through you, Madam Chair, apparently the agent is not able to attend, but we have the owner.
Okay.
Raymond, you've been unmuted.
Yes, hi.
Hi, sir. Can you please give me your name, first of all? And you're the owner of 298 Keele, right?
Right. My name is Raymond Tachico. I'm the owner.
Okay. Can you just, so it's Raymond or Ramon, R-A-M-O-N?
Raymond.
Okay.
Raymond.
How do you say?
Raymond.
Oh, Raymond. Okay. And can you spell your last name, please?
Tachikou, Tatchikou.
Okay, slow it down a bit and start again, please.
Tatchikou.
All right, great. Okay, sir, we don't need a presentation. Let me see if we have any questions for you. Panel members, any questions for the owner? Okay, sir, we've read all the materials. We have one variance before us for floor space index. We're ready to make a decision. Anything you want to add before we go into committee to make a decision?
No, nothing I will add.
All right. Panel members, we're in committee. Everybody's hand almost went up at the same time, so I'm going to go with Aaron. Okay, go.
Oh, okay. Well, thanks. I think this application is very straightforward, and the variance the applicant is asking is very minor. I would like to make a proposal to approve the application.
Okay. Now, who would like to second? Ms. Valentini. All right, so motion to approve, moved by Mr. Cheng, seconded by Ms. Valentini. All in favor? Okay, that motion carries. So we're going to take a break until 3:30 because we can't start until the 3:30 slot. So it's we have about 12 minutes or so. So I'll see you guys back at 3:30. All right, everyone, welcome back. The next item is item number 33, 113 Boston Avenue. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. And do I have the agent on the line? Or actually the person filling in, I guess.
I'm trying to connect with him through the phone, so it's ringing.
All right.
Sorry, Nick, you've been unmuted. You might have to unmute yourself on your phone.
Mr. Campos, are you there? Are you trying to, because can we go to the next one? Okay, panel members, we're going to go to item number 34. We can't get the person on the line. All right, item number 34, 82 Springdale Boulevard. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, a tree plan from the agent, a covering letter from the agent, and 2 form letters in support from both adjacent neighbors. And, okay, and just as a side note, I read that they do have a permit for parking on the street. The existing is 0 parking. All right, do we have the agent on the line?
Shahid, you've been unmuted.
Mr. Nanavati, are you there?
Oh, he muted himself.
Can you hear me, ma'am?
Yeah, I can now.
Okay, thank you so much. My name is Shahid Nanavati, and I represent 82 Springdale Boulevard for this proposal.
And you're speaking on behalf of the owners, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so we have 3 variances before us. I believe number 3 is an existing condition. Panel members, do you have any questions for the agent? Sir, we have no questions for you. We're actually ready to take this into committee for a decision. Is there anything that you want to add that's not in the material we have?
No, ma'am. Thank you so much.
All right, sir. Okay, panel members, let's take it into committee. Mr. Nipfel?
Madam Chairman, this is a very minor application. The variances, the 3 variances are very small. The one is an existing condition. The other 2 are extremely minor. The proposal retains the front elevation, so there would be no measurable impact on the street or adjacent neighbors. It's a small 2-story rear addition, which I think fits into the neighborhood. I'd like to move approval without condition.
Okay, who'd like to second? Ms. Hayes? Motion to approve, moved by Mr. Nipfel, seconded by Ms. Hayes. All in favor? Okay, this carries unanimously, and Ms. Valentini is absent. All right. The next item, item number 35, 150 Macdonell Avenue. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, covering letter from the agent, correspondence in support from 156, 154 Macdonell, and the adjacent neighbor at 148, and that last one is in our supplemental agenda. Do I have the agent on the line?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi.
I'm Helen Vorster.
Yep.
I'm the agent and architect for the project. Along with my husband, I'm also the homeowner.
Okay, thank you. Panel members, we have 3 variances before us. Do you have any questions for the homeowner / agent? No? All right, Ms. Vorster, we're actually ready to go into committee to make a decision. Anything you want to add that's not in the submissions?
No, that's fine, thanks.
All right, thank you. Let's take it into committee. Ms. Hayes.
Thank you. I think the information provided with the application and the cover.
remaining.
Should I continue?
Yeah, go ahead.
And the covering letter, I think were very helpful in pointing out the rationale for the application. I think the variances are indeed minor and appropriate, and I believe it meets the 4 tests. And if my colleagues have no further comment, I would move a motion to approve the application with no conditions.
Okay, do I have a seconder? Mr. Chang, okay. Motion to approve, moved by Ms. Hayes, seconded by Mr. Chang. All in favor? That carries. Okay, item number 36, 1086 St. Clair Avenue West. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. A support letter from the adjacent neighbor at 1084 St. Clair Avenue West, and that came in our supplemental agenda. Okay, we have 2 variances before us. Do I have the applicant on the line?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. It's Mario Silva, the agent for this application.
Okay, sir, just give me 1 second. I'm showing one person with oh, no, no, sorry, forget it. I'm looking at the next one again. Okay, so I don't think we need a presentation. Any questions, panel members? Mr. Nipfel.
Just a very quick question, Mr. Silva. The variance number 2 is an existing condition, is it not?
Yes, it is. There is no parking
Thank you.
Provided at the moment, no.
No, variance number 2. The
Variance number 2, which is the rear yard setback.
yeah,
Okay, so that's basically the ground floor is existing. We're just adding the second floor on top to match
okay.
the
So it's
floor below.
so the variance is an existing condition then.
That is correct, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions, panel members? Okay, Mr. Silva, we don't have any other questions. Is there anything you'd like to add before we go into committee to make a decision?
No, I think it's a straightforward application. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. All right, we're in committee. Ms. Hayes?
Thanks. I think what's being proposed here is indeed minor. The side addition is basically squaring off the building. The setback to the residential area is indeed existing. I think adding a second story from that is not going to make the situation have any greater impact. I would be prepared to support the make a motion to support the application with no conditions.
Okay, do I have a seconder, Ms. Valentini? Motion to approve, moved by Ms. Hayes, seconded by Ms. Valentini. All in favor? Okay, that motion carries. Item, okay, well, you got them? All right, we're gonna go back to 33 then. We think we have.
Nick, you've been unmuted.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, give me 1 second just to go back here. Okay, and it's Nick, is it Campos?
Campos, yeah.
Campos, okay. Let me see if there are any questions. Panel members, do you have any questions on number 33, which is 113 Boston Avenue? And we don't have any communication other than the copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. Mr. Nipfel.
Very quick question to the applicant. The purpose of the application refers to only work at the back of the building. Am I correct that there's also a front addition, that vertical piece in the middle at the front? That's new, is it not?
I believe it is. Let me just open the plans here just to confirm.
You can see it on the front elevation. Well, there, you can see it there on that drawing there that was just up. The projected piece looks like it's new. And my only reason for mentioning it is that it seems to me that the purpose needs to be perhaps refined a little bit if there in fact is an addition at the front as well.
Sorry, just, I believe it's just the finish that's supposed to be replaced there, but let me just confirm. Sorry, I'm a little, we just had an emergency here. And I'm
If
just
you look, can you look, can we pull up the first floor plan? That's where it seems to look as though it's new there. See at the front? And on the elevations, it looks like it's new. So I just, if it's just refinishing, I wouldn't worry about it. But if it's a slightly new addition, then I think we should change the purpose a little bit. And I'm not raising it because I have a difficulty with it. I just wanted to make sure we were accurate.
Yes, you're correct. The wall in the front there is proposed on the first and the second floor.
Okay, so perhaps we could revise or slightly alter the purpose of the application to indicate that. Thank you very much.
Sabrina, yeah, okay, I'm going to leave it to staff to alter that.
Sure.
Through you, Madam Chair, we can just say a two-story front addition, partial two-story front addition.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, Mr. Campos, I know you're filling in because of an emergency. Is there anything you want to add before we take this into committee for a decision?
No, it seems pretty
I
straightforward.
have a question, Madam Chair.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
It's okay. Just quickly, the FSI being requested of 1.25, from reviewing the information, looks like the existing is 88.4. I would just like to hear a little bit about the support for the FSI of the variance. Is that similar to other homes in the vicinity?
I believe it is. I think a lot of these homes in this area are much older and before this FSI was in place for this area. I think the neighbors to the side, the houses are very similar and exceeding the current zoning bylaw for FSI.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, let's take it into committee then. Any comments or a motion? Mr. Niffel?
Madam Chairman, I think that this is a development proposal which meets within the community context. I don't think there's anything negative about it that would impact anyone. My only concern at this point might be that I'm just looking at it. There's a balcony on the top floor at the back, and I think it would benefit from having privacy screening on let me see, it would be on the north and the south edges. Other than that, I think that the application is quite commendable, fits in well with the community and meets the tests for variance, and I'd like to move approval.
Okay. All right, so Mr. Nipfel is moving approval with a condition for screening on the north and south side of the balcony, and with the purpose as amended. Okay, do I have a seconder for that motion? Ms. Hayes? Okay, all in favor? That carries unanimously. Okay, so let's go to item 37, 40 Badgerow Avenue. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. We have one variance before us. Now, on this one, do we have the speaker who has a concern?
Through you, Madam Chair, we actually have oh, yeah, we do, sorry. And we have the owner instead of the agent as well.
All right. Okay. Can I have the owner first, I guess? At least get the name, then.
Jared, you've
Yes.
been muted.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, my name is Jared Ho. I'm the owner of 40 Badgerow Ave.
Okay, and that's H-O-O, right?
Correct.
Okay, I'm just gonna go to the person who has a concern. I'm not sure we need a full presentation. I think it might be easier to get the resident's concern first so that you can speak to it.
Hi, it's Andrew. Can you hear me?
Yep, go ahead.
Oh, great. Hi, my name's Andrew Spence. I live on Pape Avenue.
Okay.
And I wrote a letter into the committee about just to ask that the laneways be kept clear and unobstructed. It looks like a lot of construction will happen at the rear of the property. And so to access that, there's a north-south laneway, which is behind Pape Avenue. And then there's an east-west laneway that runs sort of parallel to BADGEROW. And all the residents who park at the back of their homes need to use that laneway to access their properties. So it's important for the laneway to remain clear and unobstructed. And there have been incidents in the recent past when contractors and others have decided to park their cars in the laneway and park their trucks in the laneway. And that has caused, access to be blocked for the residents.
Okay,
And
so just so you understand that the committee does not have any jurisdiction over that. I mean, I think your concerns are legitimate. The homeowner is listening, and hopefully he can make sure that any construction vehicles are not going to be blocking any access for people. But this committee does not have any jurisdiction to put any conditions on for that kind of stuff. We only deal with the actual variances for the whatever people are applying for from a planning perspective. So we can't really put any conditions in for that.
Okay, well, I hope it doesn't happen. I don't like calling. I mean, I can call the Toronto parking people if they if there's an issue, I guess.
Yeah, you can do that. You can call 311 and express your concern. But maybe you can have a conversation with like I'll have the homeowner address your concern, and perhaps you can just speak with the homeowner if it happens and see if they can not have any of the people working on their project impeding access on the laneway.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Okay, Mr. Ho, are you there?
I am, yes.
Yeah, so you've heard the concerns expressed by Mr. Spence on Pape, so perhaps you can give him some assurances that you'll do your best to not have the contractors parking there.
Of course. Yeah, I was actually going to say I share his concerns because we've been living in this house for a little bit now and have actually experienced some similar disruption to our access. We do have the benefit on our property of actually having full access to a back parking pad with access from the laneway. So there shouldn't be any reason that anyone that's working specifically on our project would need to whether it's parking or putting a bin, anything like that. Like we have the space, like I said, fortunately on our property to actually, maintain anything like that on our own space. So I don't see our project being the cause of any disruption in the laneway.
Okay, great. Sounds like you're both on the same page. Panel members, do you have any questions for the homeowner? Ms. Valentini and then Mr. Niffel.
Thank you. I noticed you've got quite a large deck coming off the third floor, and I was wondering if you're proposing to do any privacy screening for that.
Mr. Ho, are you there? Did we lose him?
Hi, sorry, I was muted there.
Okay, all right. So did you hear the question about privacy screening?
I did. Yeah, we're certainly open to it. If that's something that would appease the committee, then we could certainly look at that.
Okay. Was it you, Carl, that had a question?
Yes, I had exactly the same question, that we needed some privacy screening on the east and the west side of that deck. It's quite a substantial deck, so it's the same question as Lisa.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, Mr. Ho, we're ready to take this into committee for a decision. Anything you want to add that's not in the submissions before we take it into committee? Did we lose him again?
Nothing to add, thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's take it into committee, panel members. Ms. Valentini.
Thank you. I think my only concern with this application was actually that the size of the deck, the large deck, and potential concern for overlook and privacy issues. But I think if there's a screen put on the, I think it's the west and east sides. Yes, the west and east sides of the deck. I think that would alleviate any concerns I have. So I'm in support of the application. I think it's in keeping with similar projects in the area. And I don't find that there'll be any impact apart from the privacy issue. I don't know if anybody has any comments, but if not, I'd like to bring a motion forward for approval of the application. And it'd be subject to the owner putting up privacy screening on that rear third-story deck on the west and east sides and 1.5 meter privacy screen.
Alrighty, so are you seconding, Carl?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so the motion to approve, including 1.5 meter privacy screening on the deck on the east and west sides, moved by Ms. Valentini, seconded by Mr. Nipfel. All in favor? That carries unanimously. Thank you. Item number 38, 60 Kensington Avenue. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, and floor plans, 3 photographs of the subject property. We have 2 covering letters as well as presentation material from the applicant. We have correspondence in support from many people on Kensington, on Basswood, Augusta, Baldwin Street. We have also the MPP from Brampton South, from 25 Grosvenor, and another 24 form letters in support signed by owners and occupants on Kensington, St. Andrew Street, and 66 Nassau. Do I have the applicant on the line?
David, you've been unmuted.
Hi, this is David.
Schwartz, right?
Yep,
Okay.
David Schwartz. I'm the applicant on file.
Okay, can you bear with me a minute, David? Because I have 2 people on my list and I'm not sure if they're opposed or in support, so I'd like to go to them first.
Sure.
Stephen, you've been unmuted.
Hi, Stephen?
You might have to unmute yourself on your own device as well.
Do you have Mika?
Looking for the unmute.
Is this Stephen? Because I can hear you
This
talking.
This is Stephen. Yes, this is Stephen.
Hi, Stephen. Stephen, are you in support of this application or are you opposed?
I'm in support of it.
Okay, so is that all you wanted to say, that you're in support?
No, I wanted to say a couple of words as well.
Okay, go ahead.
I live in the building. I'm the property manager for the building, and I also represent the ownership of the building, which is my 88-year-old mother-in-law. We've always been very supportive of traditional retailers in the market, and we've had applicants to put a bar and a marijuana dispensary in this space, and we chose instead to go with like a proper sit-down restaurant. This does not impede the Kensington market at all. It's in the rear of the building, so it does not take any frontage over on the street. We're very, very sensitive about having traditional retailers on the street for our mall. And I mean, I'm totally in support of it. I mean, like, we've got very deep roots in this community. My father-in-law, Max Fisher, was here for 30 years. His brother Gus Fisher was the character that the King of Kensington television show was based on, like 50 years. So we've very deep roots here. And I'm fully in support of this. And we've always been very, very sensitive. I mean, I've had all kinds of applications, like people wanting open cafes whenever I have a property I'm managing on a storefront. And no, I've always gone traditional retailers in the storefront because that's what the owner wants. I mean, she's sensitive to it. I mean, she's very, very ingrained. She first came to Canada, she moved to Kensington Market. So very deep roots, and I'm very, very strongly in support of this, particularly recovering after COVID. The market lost a lot of great businesses because of COVID, and this would really reinvigorate Kensington Market. And it will not impede on the existing retailers at all because it's not a storefront. It's at the rear of the building. And that's all I have to say.
Thanks a lot, Stephen. Any questions of the speaker? No? David, if you're listening, the other three people I have listed are also in support, so I'm going to go to them first. All right? Okay. You going in the order then, maybe? Mr. Pahar first.
Sandra, you've been unmuted.
Hello,
Hi. Can you just state your name and address for the record?
my name is Sandro Pahar, and I live at 58 Kensington, which is the building that this permit is for.
Okay, and you're in support of the building?
I am in support. Just to say, like, a quick note on this, I've been in the community for about 6 years living here, and before that, when I went to U of T, I'm involved in a lot of community groups and a lot of like community activism. I'm helping the BIA plan Pedestrian Sunday this year, and you know, I'm pretty entrenched in the area. You know, David reached out to me and had a really open conversation about his plans for the restaurant, and you know, it was a dialogue, and I was very inspired by that because there's a lot of times where people come in, they don't really care what the tenants have to say, but David was very receptive to our like conversation. I looked into the proposal, and you know, I'm very sensitive to noise concerns and all that stuff, and I felt very satisfied with David's plan for that restaurant downstairs. It was formerly the Cold Tea, which was, you know, if you're familiar with that, it was very loud. So I think that everything that I've heard from David's planning and like his reputation in the culinary community is really great, and I think that, you know, the variance that he's asking for makes a lot of sense given the initial consultations with the Kensington market community on how restaurants should operate. I think there's a big threat in Kensington that a lot of spaces will become these kind of like corporatized areas because there's very, you know, the incentives for restaurants like David are hard to come by, partly because of these permitting laws and partly because of market forces. So I think when we have an opportunity for a tenant like David to like occupy space for 10 years, which is a long time, and to like create a culinary experience for people that speaks to the historicity of Kensington and kind of the character of the market, someone who is local, who's lived here, I think it's a no-brainer. Looking at like the initial planning report, the committee of adjustment, the recommendations from the city staff were that there's some limitations placed on this, like having like a clause in there to avoid future venues from becoming like a dance club. I think that's totally reasonable. I think David also supports that. So, you know, I think as a tenant in the building, I'm fully in support, and I hope that the committee approves the permit.
Okay, thank you very much.
No problem.
Any questions for the speaker? No? All right. And the next person?
Ms. Lofty, you've been unmuted.
Okay, thank you. My name is Purya Lutfi. I'm vice chair of the Kensington Market BIA. I'm also a business owner and a resident of the market. I would just like to briefly talk about the bar and restaurant study that led to this bylaw in the first place. A few years ago, at the behest of some resident groups and the councillor, the councillor's office via city planning organized the bar and restaurant study, and I was involved in the whole consultation process. We agreed to reduce the floor plate of restaurants from 200 square meters to 100 square meters, with the caveat that it would not include food preparation space, storage, washrooms, and so forth, and mechanical spaces. The previous bylaw was 200 square meters, not including washrooms, mechanical space, and storage, but including food preparation areas. When the report came out, it did clearly state that it's going to be reduced from 200 square meters to 100, not including food prep, washroom, storage, mechanical areas, and it was passed around through the neighborhood by city planning. All the community groups looked at it. They approved. The BIA had a voice in this. The BIA approved. The council's office did the same thing. But when it came to actually drafting the bylaw, and I think that just it was basically a clerical mistake on the part of the planner. The wording of the previous bylaw remained the same, with the exception that they reduced 200 to 100 square meters. Now, the original intent of the plan was, and I remember this specifically from the consultation process, was that we didn't want to inhibit restaurants from opening up, but we did want to discourage large-scale bars and clubs. So we specifically added food preparation areas to the exclusions. Now, when the bylaw was drafted, it did not include that, and it has actually led to that problem, because in David's case, in the case of Sunny Chinese, he's either, at this point, if he does not get this variance, he'll be forced to open a bar on the one hand and a takeout restaurant on the other. He can do that, and we want to avoid precisely this scenario. We've brought it up with the councillors and with the planning, but thus far, planning has refused to amend it because they said it's essentially too much work. That's completely unacceptable, and I've had an issue with the same bylaw. I was trying to open a new restaurant. I had to rework the plans to show extra fake storage, fake food prep areas. The same thing that planning told the applicant to do, to show fake areas. That increases the cost of rent, increases the cost of construction, delayed construction, and all this time people have to pay rent. I know of future applications that will have to go through the same process again, paying extra rent and extra construction costs. So that's why I think that the BIA, and I'm here officially on behalf of the BIA, is in support of this variance, and also we want to put it out there that this is going to be an ongoing issue, and we encourage the city planning to look into it and to amend it to reflect the report. Thank you.
Thank you. And in terms of it being an ongoing issue, I think you need to, perhaps connect somehow with the chief planner's office and talk about the bylaw, because, we only deal with individual applications here.
Oh, yeah, fine. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions of the speaker, panel members? Okay. Do we have one more speaker here?
Tom, you've been unmuted. And you might have to unmute yourself on your own device as well.
Hello, can you hear us?
Yeah, go ahead. I need your name and address for the record.
My name is Tom Mihalik. I have a spectacular retail store in Kensington Market at 190 Baldwin Street. We're the suit people. We've been here since 1958. So when you think of a suit, you have to think of Tom's Place. We've been here forever.
I've been there.
Thank you, very kind. I appreciate the opportunity. Our original location was at 54 Kensington Avenue. In 1958, my dad opened up a used clothing store at 54 Kensington, and then that store burned down. There were some people living upstairs. They were candle makers. They loved to work at night, and our store burned down, so we moved to 60 Kensington. The original owners of that building was Edelman. Edelman sold that building to the Rebellos, who had a food store right next to us. And then Gustav Fischer and his brother bought the building. So I know that building extremely well. And David's grandfather used to feed me when we moved to Baldwin Street. His grandfather had a chicken store. And early in the morning, all of us got together. We bought bagels, cream cheese, and we had a great breakfast. And we all met at P&K, David's grandfather chicken store. So this kid has great roots in the market. And when we moved to Baldwin Street, his grandfather took me in. You know, it was a different world. And it's nice to see that he's coming back home where he belongs. He belongs with us. And my grandchildren, as a matter of fact, love Chinese food. I love Chinese food. And I'll have a spot to hang out, just like in the old days. Instead of eating bagels and cream cheese, I will eat other stuff. So I feel, and I support him. Not only that, he bought a tuxedo from me already. So things are looking up for him. He's a young man. He bought a tuxedo. I think that we have to help these young people to find the right way, find the right spot. And Kensington Market is the place to be. We need after the pandemic that we have, which was horrific, we need these young people to come to the market, open up great businesses, and let's give them a chance. Let's give them a push. Don't take away. This guy really wants to open it up. I mean, he really wants to do it. He wants to do it with his heart. So based on that, I welcome you with open arms. And I thank you for the opportunity to say a few words. And, you know, when I first started to talk about his grandfather and the chicken store that was next door to us, his family said that the only person they would sell the property was to Tom. They had people that wanted to give them more money, but they said no. Tom is the one who should get their property. And that's part of Tom's place right now.
Well, I have to say thank you to all of the speakers. It's been a very nice history lesson for all of us. And I'm going to go back to Mr. Schwartz now. I think Mr. Nipfel has a question. Do you have a question of the previous speaker, Mr. Nipfel?
Actually, no, I wasn't aware that Tom was going to speak. And since my closet is full of his suits and I'm a very proud customer, I suspect that I should declare a conflict on this application.
Oh my God. Now you come out, eh? And everybody's going to come out there buying suits from Tom.
If I don't create a situation where you have a tie, though, it's probably good that I declare a conflict.
Well, listen, it's really truly a pleasure, and I appreciate the opportunity, and I know everybody's going to do the right thing. And David and all of his friends, I'm here with a young man whose grandmother lived just around the corner. They're really pushing for it. And good luck to them, and I thank you once again. I really appreciate it.
Okay, so you're declaring conflict then, Carl?
Yeah, I'll step away while this application continues.
Okay, just to clarify, I've never bought a suit there. Only was there with my previous boss many years ago. He did buy suits from you, though.
I don't know. I did buy one when I just graduated. So should I
Like, are we all going to declare?
Don't do it. No, please don't.
Tom, you shouldn't show up. Now we have not enough members.
Okay. Are you declaring conflict too, Aaron, or you're good? It's been how
I guess
long?
I'm okay. Yes,
You're
I guess
okay.
I'm.
All right, grand. Mr. Schwartz.
Okay. First of all,
Yeah, I don't think we need a full presentation. Let me see if there's questions, and then you can just add whatever or you feel you need to add. Panel members, do you have any questions? Ms. Valentini, go ahead.
I don't know if it's a question to the applicant or it's just a question in general. I thought I heard one of the speakers say there was a planning report. Is that right? Or
I heard
With a
that.
condition?
I heard that too, but there, I don't.
And
see
I don't have one. Okay, I just wanted to double check that we didn't have one.
Maybe it was
Do
a
we have one?
planning report about some other thing that. You know,
Okay.
they're relating to this possibly, but I didn't see a
Or
planning report.
it might have been in the context of the speaker was speaking about the study that they had done.
Yeah.
But when the
Okay, I
bylaw
just
was
wanted to make sure
drafted,
we
it was
didn't.
different than they expected. I think
Okay,
that's what the context.
thank you.
Okay, any other questions for Mr. Schwartz? Okay, Mr. Schwartz, we don't need a presentation, but if there's anything you want to add, now's your chance.
I mean, I've been anticipating this for months, literally, and I did prepare something, but honestly, I don't know how I could follow up those supporting voices. So I feel that there's nothing else I can say, and I appreciate all of your time, and thank you so much.
Yeah, we've read all your letters also, so it's been an interesting read, I think, for all of us, plus all the supporting comments. Okay, let's take it into committee, panel members. Ms. Hayes.
Thank you. I think that the material that was supplied as part of the application and what we received as submissions certainly allowed me to truly understand the context of the neighborhood, what was there, what's been there, and also the desire of what this establishment will be. I think that what is being proposed and the variance that is being requested, and also hearing some of the comments from the BIA member talking about the ongoing discussions with the business community there and what they would like to have represented. I think what is being proposed here and that the variance being requested is appropriate. I think in the context it can be considered minor, although it's almost double the size of what the bylaw provides. But I certainly think that it will provide a good addition to the neighborhood and continue to provide a good place and add to the vitality of Kensington Market. So if my colleagues have no further comment, I would be prepared to move a motion to approve the application with no conditions.
All right, do I have a seconder for that motion? Mr. Cheng? Okay, so I have a motion to approve the application, moved by Ms. Hayes, seconded by Mr. Cheng. All in favor? That motion carries. Good luck with the restaurant. And we are again on a break until 4:30. I can't continue till the 4:30 time slot. All right, we'll be back at 4:30. The next item is item number 39, 2112 to 2114 Yonge Street. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, an arborist report from Kelly Tree Care, covering letter from the agent, copy of a bylaw, a revised diagram, diagram 6. We have email correspondence from Development Planning and Review, Area 1 Transportation Services, staff report from Community Planning, and a letter from the councillor recommending conditional approval. Those two reports came in the supplemental agenda. We have interest expressed by the Oriole Park Association. Now, I believe that the concerns expressed in the letter from the Oriole Park Residents Associations are addressed in the planning report. Do I have the agent on the line?
Hi, Ian Graham couldn't make it today, so I will be representing the owner in his place.
And you are?
My name is Valeria Sokolenko of R.E. Millward and Associates.
I'm sorry, did you say Valerie?
Valeria.
Valeria, and can you spell your last name, please?
It's Sokolenko.
Okay, thank you. I don't know, panel members, do you need a presentation? And then I do have one speaker in support. So maybe I'll go to the support speaker first, and then I'll come back to you.
Michael, you've been unmuted. You might have to unmute yourself on your device as well. Michael?
Oh, hi, sorry about that. I'm here representing the owners to the south of the subject property at 2100 Yonge Street. We're here simply to say that we're satisfied with the revisions made by the applicant, and we're in support provided that the building moves forward in accordance with the plans that we signed off on.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, Ms. Sokolenko, I'm just going to see if there are any questions for you. Panel members, do you have any questions? Mr. Niffel.
Just a brief one, Madam Chairman. The last speaker referred to the plans that he signed off on. Can you confirm that the plans we have on our agenda are those plans?
Is that question for me?
No, it's for the applicant. It's for
For Ms. Sokolenko.
Yes, so to confirm, the drawings that were submitted to the committee were the design revised as per communication and conversations with Michael Tucci and the applicant at 2100 Yonge Street.
Thank you.
Okay, are there any other questions? I actually have one question to the agent. I believe, like, the planning report addresses the condition regarding the monetary issue that the ratepayers expressed. What about they also talked about they needed some resolution with respect to construction management issues. Are you dealing with those with them also? I know it's not part of the variances, but it was something in the letter.
Yeah, so it is a bit of a complicated situation, but Excel, the construction management company on the file, is working to address the charges. They are being contested, so it's not just a matter of kind of paying the charges, but they are kind of going through the appropriate channels and being dealt with appropriately, yes.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? Ms. Valentini?
Just to follow up on that, I'm assuming those charges you're referring to are the same charges that are referred to as the outstanding fines and illegal occupation of the city's right of way that's referred to in the councillor's letter. Is that one and the same in terms of the charges? And he's called them fines, but.
So yeah, so the Councillor Matlow's letter outlines the 6 charges. So that's the charges that we're referring to that are going through a separate process. I know that there is a road occupancy permit that is currently in the works So I believe that's been in communication with staff in terms of nailing down that numerical value, but they are different items.
And is that like a matter, like a legal matter before something, or is it just a matter that you're dealing with the city on?
The permit application is a process with the city. The
Okay.
charges are going through a judicial process.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and you are aware of the planning report then with the condition?
Yes, we are.
Okay, any other questions, panel members? Mr. Nipfel.
One question to Sabrina. Do you have any reservations about us adding the conditions recommended by planning? There's substantial financial issues. We've not normally put items of that magnitude in as conditions of variance. I just wonder if you had any concerns. This application, to me, is on the cusp of whether or not it's a bylaw amendment or a variance, and the conditions that are being requested are very substantial. I just would really welcome your opinion on whether we're within our powers to place those conditions as conditions of variance.
Sure. Through you, Madam Chair, yes, I've reviewed the community planning report, and yes, this could be a condition added if the committee is to approve this application. And it would be to the satisfaction of the Executive Director, Corporate Real Estate Management. And perhaps tying the decision to the revised plans should also be considered.
Okay, any other questions, panel members? Okay. Ms. Okolenko, we're ready to take this into committee. Is there anything you want to add before we take it into committee for a decision?
No, that's everything. Thank you.
Okay. Panel members, we're in committee. Any comments? Ms. Hayes?
On first blush, when I looked at this, you have a concern sometimes about what actually comes to us as a variance versus a bylaw amendment, as my colleague noted. When I reviewed all the material on file and received the supplementary material from the planning department and the Ratepayers Association and Councillor's Office, it's clear that the changes that are being proposed to this approved building have been quite widely vetted and have been discussed with many of those who would have been notified if it had to be through bylaw amendment. In reviewing the materials on file and the rationale and the explanation of some of the changing planning environment from policies surrounding this neighborhood and the intensification and heights and other policy environment that is at Yonge and Eglinton, I think that I am satisfied that it has been demonstrated that what is being proposed is within the context of development that is being built or is going to be permitted in this area. I think that it does meet the spirit and intent of the official plan, and I would be prepared to support the application, but I'd appreciate if my colleagues have any other comments.
Mr. Nipfel?
I agree with Joanne. This was a tough application. There was a lot of material to review, and I would just like to take my hat off to Mr. Graham. His covering letter was extremely comprehensive and helpful to me in particular in finding my way through all that has happened. I have come to the same conclusion that Joanne has, that I think it is a variance application, and I think it's commendable, but I would have had some more difficulty coming to that conclusion were it not for Mr. Graham's extremely helpful submission and covering letter.
Any other comments? If not, all right, I need a motion. Ms. Hayes.
So I will move a motion to approve the application, subject to the conditions outlined in the planning report with respect to payment to the satisfaction of the executive director, corporate real estate management, and also I would like it to tie it to plans because they have been subject to much of the discussion, both with the residents and through the facilitated discussions from the counselor's office.
Okay, that's the revised plans, correct? Yeah.
Would you also include the revised diagram 6 as part of the plans?
Yes, yes, thank you.
Okay, so a motion to approve to tie with a condition to tie to plans, including the revised diagram 6 and the May 16th planning report that has the condition outlined by Ms. Hayes, moved by Ms. Hayes, seconded by Mr. Nipfel. All in favor? That carries unanimously. Thank you. Item number 40. 2A, okay, 2A, 4A, and 6A, Osler Street. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, copy of the draft R plan, chain of titles submitted by the agent, as well as a covering letter, schedule of uses, and correspondence regarding the easement and presentation material. This all was submitted by the agent. We have a staff report from engineering dated Feb 15th. Okay, and I don't have any speakers other than the agent. Do I have the agent on the line?
Yes. My name is Leo Palozzi, and I represent the owner of the property.
Hi. Okay,
Hello.
I think, I don't know that we need a presentation. Panel members, do you have any questions for Mr. Palozzi? Ms. Valentini?
Just so I understand, you're simply getting the consent to separate the units into individual parcels. Were they individual parcels at one point, or no? They just
At one point, they were not separate parcels,
Okay.
but Unit 8, which is not part of this application, it's at the end. It has been severed, and the owner of the property is looking to sever or to create independent lots. What I'd like to mention is that those existing units that are shown on this plan are set up individually with their own meters, power, entrances, and addresses. And as a condition of approval through the, I guess it's the engineering staff report, if I'm not mistaken, we have actually confirmed that the addresses are valid. So in effect, the units exist today and they are functioning separately. And the owner is interested in formalizing that for potential sale in the future and or, I guess individual units can be sold and or purchased.
So Unit 8 was part of this parcel, and then it got severed at a different point in time. Is that what you're saying?
That is correct.
And
Thank
they have
you.
currently have their own municipal addresses.
So
they function. Yeah.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions, panel members? Okay, Mr. Palozzi, we don't have any more questions. Is there anything you would like to add before we take this into committee for a decision?
No, thank you.
Okay, panel members, let's take it into committee.
Well,
Ms. Valentini, or?
Thank you. As we've heard, these individual units are already operating as separate units. They sound like they have their own independent municipal addresses. At some point, they have their own meters, power, so they're actually operating as separate units. And we've also heard that the end unit, number 8, or the number 8, the end property, was severed at some point in any event. So I don't have any issue supporting the severance in this case. I think it makes sense, and I don't see there's going to be any any impact as a result of that. So I'm happy to bring a motion forward for approval. So I'd like to bring a motion forward for approval of the consent, and that be subject to the conditions set out in the development engineering memo, and of course the usual consent conditions.
Okay. Do I have a seconder? Mr. Chang? Okay, so motion to approve moved by Ms. Valentini, seconded by Mr. Chang. All in favor? Okay, that carries unanimously. The next item is item number 41, 17 Curzon Street. We have before us a copy of the survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, minutes from the December 8th, 2021 public hearing, as well as the materials from that hearing, or that scheduled hearing. And we have a staff report from community planning asking for conditions. Do I have the agent on the line, or the owner?
Through you, Madam Chair, the agent won't be attending the hearing.
Yes, you said that. Okay, so panel members, the agent can't make it, but they are actually withdrawing. They've asked to withdraw the file, so we're voting on the withdrawal of the file. Ms. Hayes?
I'd like to move a motion that the committee accept the withdrawal and close the file.
All right, do I have a seconder for that motion? Ms. Valentini? All right, so motion to withdraw the file, close the file, moved by Ms. Hayes, seconded by Ms. Valentini. All in favor? Okay, that carries unanimously.
I just want to ask, do we have to mention about there's no refund of the fees or things like that, or it doesn't have to mention?
Through you, Madam Chair, there is no refund because notice was sent out.
Okay. Our final item today is item number 42, 129 to 141 Vaughan Road. We have before us a copy of the minutes from the March 23rd public hearing, as well as materials that were submitted at that time. Copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, presentation materials, as well as landscape drawings from the agent. We have transportation reports. I'm just getting my notes here, sorry. They're asking for condition and regarding variance number 18, and we have a planning report regarding 10% of the units be 3-bedroom, and forestry is asking for condition number 2. And we have a letter recommending approval in the supplemental agenda from Councillor Matlow, the local councillor. Okay, and I'm showing 2 opposition speakers. Are they both on the line? Okay. Do I have the agent on the line?
Hello, David Morris from Bellsfields here on behalf of the owner.
Hi. I do have 2 speakers listed in opposition, so can you do a 5-minute presentation? The clock's going to start when you start speaking.
Yes, certainly.
Thanks.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the committee. As indicated in the letter from the councillor dated May 17, the proposal before you reflects years of work in collaboration with the councillor's office, city planning, transportation, engineering, forestry, and the stakeholder advisory committee, which is made up of a panel of area residents. A pre-application meeting was held more than 3 years ago on January 10, 2019 with city planning staff, who advised that the surrounding area had been planned for intensification as implemented through the St. Clair Avenue West and Bathurst Street area planning framework. Planning staff advised our client to first submit a site plan application, respond to all built form comments, and then submit a minor variance application instead of submitting a rezoning application. The St. Clair Bathurst Planning Framework was adopted by City Council in July of 2019 and put forth a shared vision of how the surrounding area would grow and intensify, with a focus on enhancements to the public realm and endorsing community amenities within all new developments. This study was developed in collaboration with City Planning, the Councillor's Office, and the Stakeholder Advisory Committee. As shown on page 7 of my presentation, you can see the boundaries of the St. Clair Bathurst planning framework. All of the properties shown within these boundaries are either designated apartment neighborhoods or mixed-use areas, and they've been planned for intensification. None of the properties are designated neighborhoods in the official plan. Furthermore, this study formed the basis of the St. Clair West major transit station area, which was approved by the Planning and Housing Committee in draft form as Official Plan Amendment 570. This is one of 40 major transit station areas that are required by the province to establish minimum density targets for all properties within this boundary. A site plan approval application was submitted on October 31st, 2019, and several rounds of comments were received since that time, including from development engineering, transportation, and forestry. In response to these comments, the proposal has undergone significant design revisions. In accordance with the St. Clair Bathurst planning framework, the proposal includes a public pedestrian mid-block connection that will provide existing and new residents access to the neighborhoods to the east, and newly secured path to Bathurst Street and the St. Clair West subway station. This is illustrated on page 9 of my presentation. The site plan and minor variance applications have benefited from community engagement through 2 meetings with the Stakeholder Advisory Committee and 2 meetings with the neighbors to the north, all of which were facilitated by the Councillor's Office. As a result of community feedback, the application was revised to include a 382 square meter retail space on the ground floor, shown in pink on this diagram. 2 meetings with the neighbors to the north were facilitated by the Councillor's Office on February 22 and March 10 of this year. As a result of feedback received during these meetings, the proposal was revised to include a 1.8 meter privacy fence along the north property line and a privacy screen on the 8th floor amenity terrace. These changes have been made to limit potential safety, privacy, and overlook concerns. As indicated in the letter from the Councillor's Office and from the City Planning Report, the proposed build form is acceptable and there are no outstanding issues to be resolved. Furthermore, since the previous Committee of Adjustment hearing on March 23rd, we've coordinated with the zoning examiner to update the required list of minor variances and with the Transportation Department to address their concerns regarding the underground parking garage. As a result, the number of requested minor variances has been reduced from 22 to 19. It's my opinion that the requested minor variances are both individually and cumulatively necessary to implement the objectives of the St. Clair and Bathurst planning framework and Official Plan Amendment 570, as required by the province. The proposal represents an appropriate level of planned intensification within a defined major transit station area, and it will provide for much-needed community benefits and public realm improvements. The proposed built form is consistent and compatible with existing and proposed built form in the area, including setbacks. It is our opinion that the proposed variances meet the 4 tests outlined in Section 45(1) of the Planning Act, in that they meet the general intent and purpose of the official plan. In fact, they bring the site into conformity with the Official Plan Amendment 570 and the zoning bylaw. They are minor in nature within this context, and they are desirable for the appropriate use of the land, given that they will be providing for public realm improvements and new community amenities. Finally, to conclude my presentation, we agree with the conditions of approval from the Councillor's Office, the Transportation Department, Urban Forestry, and the Planning Department. A $50,000 contribution will be made for roadway improvements. A new 1.8 meter tall fence will be provided along the north property line. Privacy screen will be provided along the 8th floor amenity terrace, and an application to injure or destroy trees will be submitted, as well as a mid-block connection will be secured through the site plan application. Thank you for your time, and I'm open to addressing any comments you may have.
Okay. Thank you very much. We'll have you back after we hear from the 2 opposition speakers.
Teresa, you've been unmuted.
Good afternoon.
Hi. Can you state your name and address for the record, please?
My name is Teresa Borowski. I live at 93 Maplewood Avenue.
Okay, you have 5 minutes. Go ahead. The clock starts now.
Okay. Well, good afternoon, and I appreciate the opportunity to say a few words in opposition to the applicant's requests. I would ask you to please refer to my letter of objection from March 13, as my concerns for the homeowner of 143 Vaughan Road and the community of Humewood Cedarville remain the same. When I first heard about this proposed building, it was described as an 8-story dwelling. I don't know how or when the plan changed to 15 stories. In fact, I have never seen a building plan for 8 stories, which leads me to believe that this was the intent all along. The applicant has doubled the size of the building and therefore doubled its occupancy and has characterized this as a minor variance. I don't understand how this request can fulfill the definition of a minor variance. The approval of a 15-story dwelling in this location will send a message to more developers that Vaughan Road is for sale, in the same way that Raglan Avenue has been sold off. Raglan Avenue is 1 street east of Vaughan Road and currently has proposals for 5 32-story condos. Please, I'm asking you to stop this from happening on Vaughan Road. With respect to the north side setback at ground level, the applicant wishes to build within 0.33 meters of the neighboring property, which is a single-family home. I understand that there are in place city guidelines that encourage new dwellings to be built right to the property line, so as to create a uniform sight line along the street. But the examples I've seen have only applied to busy commercial streets like Queen Street or St. Clair Avenue. Vaughan Road is not a commercial street, but primarily a residential neighborhood. The homeowner at 143 Vaughan Road is faced with having a 15-story wall run along the length of the property with only 0.33 meters separation. This seems very unreasonable, and I would hope that this homeowner would deserve more consideration by the applicant, by the Committee of Adjustment, and by the local stakeholder advisory committee. I understand through Councillor Matlow's office that this advisory committee has supported this project, but I wonder how many of them would be supportive if that 15-story wall was running along the length of their own property. Lately, there has been much talk of the lack of affordable housing across this city. There was an opportunity here for this small piece of land to be used for affordable housing, but once again, the city has allowed for a for-profit condominium that will not be affordable to most residents in this neighborhood. The larger this proposed building, the more profit this applicant will make at the expense of the existing neighboring properties and residents. The longtime homeowner of 143 Vaughan Road and neighboring residents should not have to pay the price for this applicant's profit. Thank you for listening, and I hope that you will consider some of these thoughts before you render your decision. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Panel members, do you have any questions of the speaker? Okay, no? Okay, thank you, Teresa.
Christine and Helen, you have been unmuted.
Thank you. Thank you. My name's Helen Borowski. Teresa, the previous speaker, is my sister, so I just want to make that clear. I live at 143 Vaughan Road, which is immediately north of the proposed development. Thank you for offering me the chance to express my concerns related to the various variance requests of block development and their project at 129 Vaughan Road. My letter of objection submitted for the deferred meeting of March 23rd expresses all my ongoing concerns related to this new development, especially the variance requests related to height and setbacks, all of which I don't consider minor in nature. I strongly object to the request to change the height of this building from 8 to 15 stories. This is not a minor change. It is neither insignificant nor inconsequential. This is a major change. This will almost double the height of this building. I do not think our community needs another tall building. If this height request is approved, I fear that this will encourage other developers to descend on our neighborhood, as they already have, and target the many low-rise and affordable apartments north of this site. These apartments give our neighborhood character and offer affordable housing in an area that seems to be coveted by developers who want to replace these with expensive condominiums that most in our neighborhood will likely never be able to afford. Please do not allow Vaughan Road to become a canyon of condominiums as is happening on Raglan, which is just east of Vaughan Road. I especially object to the various requests that relate to decreasing the side setback at the north side. Specifically, I object to the variance request number 11, which asks that the 4.5 meters as dictated by bylaw be reduced to 0.33 meters from the north lot line. Again, this cannot be considered minor. This will leave less than 2 feet between the walls of the new build and my house. I will have limited access to the south side of my house for any repairs that may be required. I am deeply concerned about what impact excavation so close to my 100-year-old house will have on the foundation. When Block first proposed this development almost 3 years ago, and the details of which I only became fully aware of this past January, they failed to identify a window on the south side of my house. The mid-rise guidelines of 2010 clearly state that existing buildings with sidewall windows should not be negatively impacted by new developments and suggests 5.5 meter separation from an existing building wall. Block is following this guideline with respect to the south side of the building, allowing 5.5 meters to separate the new build from an existing apartment with windows. Why is this not a consideration for me? Both the bylaw and the mid-rise guidelines are very clear on separation requirements. I also have a 40-year-old tree in my backyard close to the property line. I am certain the roots will be damaged by any excavation at the 0.33 meter line that is being requested. This tree offers me some visual relief from the apartment building that is east of me and the wall that will be south of me. I will never consent to having this tree, which is on my property, being removed, regardless of any applications that may be made to do so. Finally, I object to their requests to reduce front and rear setbacks. If allowed, there will be a wall running the length of my property. By ensuring that the current bylaws of 6 meters in the front and 7.6 meters in the rear are adhered to, I will at least have some relief from the prospect of a solid brick wall within 2 feet of my house, especially by the front of the house. I always accepted that a building of some sort would be built on this site. I just respectfully ask that this developer be made to abide by all existing bylaws currently in place, rather than asking for permission to make changes to suit their plans. This is not a renovation. This is a new building, and their plan should have been made based on current bylaws. Thank you for reading my letter of March 23 and listening to my concerns. And I'd just like to add something. Sorry, do I still have a moment?
Yeah, go ahead. What did you want to ask?
The gentleman, when he said we had consultations with the developer, 2 occasions, they weren't very successful on our part. When they mentioned the fence, it's nothing we really agreed to. It's something they decided would work. Somehow they felt that by putting up a fence, that would satisfy my concerns about the separation between the 2 buildings. It does not. They want to put up a fence, that's fine, but I would like it to be at the 5 meter mark that's in the mid-rise guidelines. Sorry, I'm just very upset by the fact that they think that that fence is going to make me happy. But thank you for listening.
Okay, thank you very much. Panel members, do you have any questions, Mr. Nipfel, for the speaker?
Yes, to the last speaker, who I think is Christine.
I think it's Helen.
Helen, I'm sorry.
No, is it Christine or Helen?
My name's Helen. I was the one that just spoke.
Okay, yeah. So
Okay.
Mr. Nipfel has a question for you.
Sorry, Hel. I understand your objection to variance number 11, but you were referring to a 5 meter setback, and the bylaw is 4.5 meters, or are you referring to some other setback? That's my first question. And my second question, when your sister was speaking, she spoke rather eloquently of what it would be like living next door to 15 stories, and you indicated as well that you find that a bit overpowering. If the building had remained at 8 stories, were you in favor of 8 stories, or were you still concerned with the height?
You know, the 8 stories I would have accepted, I guess. It's more the separation between the two properties. I mean, I would prefer 8 stories in our neighborhood, but it's the separation that I'm very concerned about. And the 5.5 meters, I did a little investigating when we just first heard about all of this in January, when the first Committee of Adjustment meeting was called. We were given 2 days notice to go through everything and try and figure out what was happening next door. Now, I investigated. There's something called, maybe I'm incorrect, mid-rise guidelines created by the City of Toronto. And in that guidelines from 2010, and I think there was even an amendment a couple of years later, it said if there is a building with a window on its side, a new building cannot be there needs to be at least 5 meters separation between the two. And there is an earlier document that Block submitted right at the beginning. And in 2 places, they mentioned there is no window on the south side, so we're okay. They didn't do their job. They didn't do their homework. There is a window. There's nothing that says the number of windows that are allowed. There is a window. So I'm hoping that mid-rise guideline would apply in this situation too. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Any other questions for the speakers? Okay. So is Helen, it was just the one speaker then for this last slot? Oh, okay. Helen, are you still there? Like you were speaking on behalf of both Christine and yourself, is that right?
No, Chris, sorry, we're at the same computer. Christine would like to say a few words if that's possible.
Okay, is she at 145? Because I'm showing 2 addresses here.
Yes, that is correct. I reside at 145 Vaughan Road.
All right, and you're at 143.
Yes, and I'm sitting with my sister at 143 Vaughan Road.
Okay, got it. But you're both at 2 different addresses. So, okay, so you can put Christine on now then.
Okay. Thank you for the opportunity to address the Committee of Adjustment regarding this proposed development. As I mentioned, I reside at 145 Vaughan Road in a single detached house, which is immediate to the north of the proposed development. I simply want to reiterate my concerns that I already have stated in my letters dated February 9th and March 16th to the minor variance proposals. Again, I do not consider these proposed variances, whether they're the front, back, or side setbacks, to be minor. These, in my opinion, appear to be major changes. The developer is requesting changes to existing bylaws, which will greatly impact my property and that of my sisters at 143 Vaughan Road. I've lived in this community all my life, and on this street approaching 60 years. And I truly feel that my quality of living will be adversely impacted by the proposed development, especially the setbacks that have been proposed. I don't consider a 15-story building to be a good fit for Vaughan Road. And because I believe that other buildings just east of it, which is 12 stories, I believe those residents will also be impacted by this. We've always expressed concern that has never been enough discussion among the community members regarding this development. And there are people who live and rent in this area and have never been advised as to the development of this. And so we're concerned about them as well. I just simply would hope that bylaws are in place to protect property owners such as myself. And I hope that the committee will take into consideration my objections and concerns. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions of the speaker panel members? Okay, thanks. Mr. Morse, are you there?
Yes, I'm still here, and I'm happy to respond to the concerns.
Okay, great. We're going to reset the clock, so you have 5 minutes to respond to the concerns.
Thank you very much. So there are 3 concerns that have been outlined in the letters of objection as well as the presentations. So the first one is appropriateness of the application and appropriateness of intensification. The second is setbacks, and the third is construction. So starting with the first, appropriateness of intensification, if you look at page 7 of my presentation, the subject site is located directly in the center, including all of the properties along the east and west side of Vaughan Road, within the planning area governed by St. Clair and Bathurst. It's also the area that has been designated a major transit station area, and it's in the process of undergoing official plan amendment 570 as required by the province of Ontario for a major transit station area. By way of the major transit station area designation, there are minimum density targets for all properties within this area, including the properties at 143 and 145 Vaughan Road. If an application were to come in at 143 and 145 Vaughan Road, a single detached house would not be permitted. A minimum density of 1.5 or higher is required by the province on those two properties. Those two properties are not designated neighborhoods in the official plan, and they're unfortunately located directly in the center of a major transit station area, which has been slated for intensification. In terms of the appropriateness of the number of variances, as well as the types of variances, I'll note that other development applications along this stretch have been approved in the past with a similar number of variances for a similar build form. Specifically, 109 Vaughan Road, the condominium called Oban Flats, was approved with 23 variances. These variances included increasing the density by 3 times what is allowed, as well as increasing the height of the building. That application was approved in 2014, which predates the major transit station area and official plan amendment 570 by more than 6 years. Since that time, development pressures have become higher, and the province has stated that minimum density targets need to be achieved where there's major transit in these areas. If we can address number 2, setbacks, if you can please go to page 12 of my presentation. Yes, this is page 12. So this is an image which represents the subject site, which is on the right side of the image, and 143 Vaughan Road, which is on the left side of the image. If you can just go up a little bit, yes. As you can see, there is one secondary window located on the side of the building. That building is currently set back 0.26 meters from the property line, and their chimney breast is set back on the property line. As it is today, a person could not fit within this area, and no light gets to that window. The current condition is essentially that of a wall-to-wall condition where there is no natural light. The proposal will have a building that is set back slightly greater than what's shown here. However, it will go up by 7 stories, as recommended by the mid-rise guidelines. People in opposition are correct. The mid-rise guidelines does require that there is a setback where there are windows. However, it also requires that the existing condition is taken into consideration. If you can please go to image 2 on my presentation. Just at the beginning of the presentation. It's an aerial photo. The one above. Yes, so if you can zoom in to the subject site here. And a little bit up. So as you can see, the properties along the east side of Vaughan Road are characterized by very minimal setbacks, including apartment buildings with very minimal setbacks. The existing building at 141 Vaughan Road is set back 0.13 meters to the north. The building at 143 Vaughan Road has a side yard setback of 0.26 meters, and the chimney breast is built to the property line. Other developments in the area, including 147 Vaughan Road, which is just north, other apartment buildings, which is just north of 145, is set back 0.2 meters from the property line, and there are windows on the side property line. That's a 3-story apartment building covering the entire sidewall. The building at 165 Vaughan Road, Rise of Sharon Long-Term Care, is set back 0.5 meters from the side property line.
Mr. Morse?
Yes.
You're almost at 6 minutes, and I'm guessing the members have questions. I know you want to do the construction, so can you just skip to that, and I'll give you another, a minute just to deal with that?
Thank you, yes. So as noted in my presentation, This proposal has benefited from 3 years of review through a site plan application, and it's required to have extensive review and site plan approval through the city process. It will also be required to have a construction mitigation and management plan, which includes excavation, as well as all plans for construction and roadwork in the area. So as a result of this, all of the considerations with respect to construction and impacts on adjacent properties will be addressed and need to go through the formal process in order for site plan approval to be achieved. Just in conclusion, I just wanted to note that this has been a process which has had extensive review by the planning department, as well as many different departments of the City of Toronto, the Councillor's Office, as well as the Stakeholder Advisory Committee. So just to note, a significant amount of community engagement for the Bathurst Street and St. Clair planning area study, which resulted in this development, was conducted over the course of the last 3 years.
Okay.
And we have reached out to the neighbors to the north.
I'm going to stop you there. I actually think you mentioned some of that at the beginning, but I would like to go to questions because you're at 7 minutes now. So,
okay.
Ms. Hayes.
Thank you. The St. Clair Avenue West Bathurst Street planning framework study, has that resulted in the development of OPA 570 that you referenced?
Yes. So the St.
And what
Clair
is the status of that OPA?
So the OPA has been approved by the Planning and Housing Committee at its meeting. It was recently approved at its meeting of March 25th, 2022. It's currently undergoing further consultation, and it's part of the city's municipal comprehensive review, where they're required by the province to define major transit station areas and to establish minimum density targets within these major transit station areas.
Okay, any other questions? Panel members? Ms. Valentini?
You've been referencing the building Oban Flats at 109 Vaughan Road, I believe you said it was, and it received a number of variances. I understand it predates this new framework, official plan framework, but can you just refresh my memory? What is the height of that building?
Yes, so that building is 33.7 meters tall.
Okay.
It reflected a building that was 2 stories taller than the as-of-right zoning permission, which is 8 stories. I'll note that the as-of-right zoning permission came into play in 2011. Oban Flats was approved in 2014. And since that time, 8 years have passed, and the major transit station area policies have now come into effect, and greater heights and densities have been planned for this area.
Okay, and in terms of setbacks of that building, how does that reflect on neighboring properties for the Oban Flats?
Yes. So under the previous, or under the as-of-right zoning, there's a required setback of 0.45 meters. Oban Flats was given relief from the zoning bylaw at 0.65 meters, which is about 2 feet. We're asking for 0.33 meters, which is in line with many of the other buildings along the east side of the street.
So that one, the zoning required 0.45 meter setback?
Sorry, the as-of-right zoning for our site, as well as all of the properties on the east side, require 4.5 meters. Oban Flats was granted a minor variance for 0.65 meters.
Oh, I thought you said it was as of right. Okay, so at 4.5 meters was the requirement, and it was granted a variance at 0.65 meters. And what's sort of the surrounding context of that building? In terms of
So Oban Flats does have an apartment building on the north side and an apartment building on the south side, both of which are walk-ups.
So how many stories are those?
3 stories.
3 stories? Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, panel members? Ms. Hayes?
Reading the comment that was prepared by the planning department for the March 23rd hearing that was deferred, Are you meeting that condition?
Yes, we are meeting the condition of approval for 10% 3-bedroom units as requested by the planning department. And we support that condition.
Okay, so this process has been going on for a number of years. Can you enlighten us as to why planning recommended that a minor variance versus a rezoning was appropriate for this proposal?
Yes. So, when we first had our pre-application meeting in January of 2019, we came to the planning department with a massing study of the area, which showed existing proposals as well as a proposal on the site. They had advised us that they were currently undergoing the St. Clair and Bathurst planning framework, and that this was going to be done as part of a future major transit station area study for intensification. Because of that, and because of other applications that had proceeded by way of minor variance, we were recommended by the planning department to first submit a site plan application, undergo a series of feedback and resubmissions, meaning we had to resolve all built form issues to the satisfaction of the planning and urban design department, and then they gave us the green light to submit the minor variance application. They advised us not to submit a rezoning application in this case.
Thank you.
Any other questions, panel members? Mr.
Yes, I have one.
Yeah, your
one
hand,
question.
your hand is like outside the picture when it goes up, so I can just see
It's right in front of my screen here.
Now it's good. Normally I can just see a piece of your pen.
When you were going through the site plan approval process and adjusting all of the design elements, what was the requirement or the suggestion from planning about the setback from the north property line? Because I feel that the adjacent property owner and the other two speakers made rather compelling arguments about the inadequacy of 0.33 meters. I'm not convinced that that's a good idea, but I'm wondering what planning had said to you during the site plan control process.
Yes, so planning staff had advised us to provide a 0-meter lot line setback on the north side, and then to provide a step back at level 8, which is included in the mid-rise guidelines. They had advised us this area is slated for intensification, and it's likely to develop with mid-rise buildings for the entire length of the east side of Vaughan Road at a similar level of intensification. As a result of our coordination with the city, with the councillor's office and others, we included a mid-block connection on the south side, and that's why there's a setback on the south side. That's going to be secured through the site plan application process. It's also going to implement some of the objectives of the St. Clair and Bathurst Street planning framework, one of which is to provide a mid-block connection to the center of the neighborhood, which goes out to Bathurst Street and provides access to the subway station. All of this is geared towards major transit station area policies and access to higher order transit to support transit investments. So if we didn't have the mid-block connection on the south side, we were actually advised to also provide for a 0-meter side yard setback on the south side, in addition to the north side. We were actually asked to minimize the setback to create less of a void within the two properties, to make sure that there aren't any privacy concerns and that there aren't any safety concerns in between that underutilized area.
And the reason for the pass-through being on the south side was that it's more in keeping with the alignment to the transit station, or why wasn't it on the north side as versus the south side?
That's a good question. Yes, it's more in line with the transit station, and as you can see, Heath Street almost lines up with it at that location. There, although I don't have them in my presentation here, within the St. Clair Bathurst planning framework, there are public realm improvement diagrams, and one of those diagrams shows a mid-block connection through the south end of the site.
Okay, thanks.
Any further questions, panel members? All right. If there are no questions, then we'll take it into committee. Ms. Hayes?
I'll start the discussion. This is another we're faced with this quite often, where we're being asked to consider applications under the and we're required to deal with applications under the context of the in-force planning instruments. But the evidence and submissions that are presented to us in the materials filed and the submissions that are made speak to studies and intentions and policies that, if in force, would support what we're being asked to consider, but they're not in force yet. And we don't have an analysis or even have those documents in front of us. So this is another application where we have that challenge where applications are being considered or are being considered by planning and also being asked to be considered by ourselves in the context of potentially a future policy framework. And so those are challenges that we're faced with here. And I'm struggling with, on the surface, the variances being requested with respect to height and FSI, if without the other, considerations I don't consider minor. But those are just my first comments with respect to what we're being asked to consider here. And I appreciate knowing what my colleagues' thoughts were.
I share your concern. I have some difficulty with the height. Putting in the context as you did, that we're judging against existing conditions because of the zoning bylaw and future conditions based on policies that we don't have before us and that we haven't had explained to us. On that basis, and on the basis of what exists in the area, even notwithstanding the fact that this is transit-orientated development, I'm having trouble with the variances related to height, and I really have difficulty with variance number 11, the setback from the north property line. I think that imposes a huge hardship on the existing property to the north. I think it is untenable. I'm unable to support variance number 11 at this point in time, and I'm still grappling with number 8. But it's for very much the same reason as Joanne just mentioned. It's very difficult to judge it against two totally different scenarios. I think to judge it against plans that we don't have is pure guesswork. To judge it against what's existing and what the bylaw says is easier. And judging it against the existing bylaw, I would have real problems with variance number 8 and variance number 11.
Okay. Ms. Valentini, did you want to say something?
I can't say I disagree with my colleagues. I have to say variance number 11 in terms of the setback from the north lot line gives me great concern. While in principle, this I can see and understand how the policies are changing towards intensification. I totally understand that, but I agree with my colleagues in terms of the planning instruments that are in force right now don't support that. So, I mean, I have issues with granting variances as well, or supporting variances, particularly as Mr. Nipfel and Ms. Hayes has said, in terms of the height and the setback. So I'm also struggling with this one. So that's where I'm at.
Well, I guess I'll weigh in. I don't think this is minor at all, and I respect the fact that, the councillor has said there's been community consultation, but we haven't been part of it. We haven't seen it. This is not like when you go through a rezoning process where it's all part and parcel, people working together and the councillor's office, and it then goes to council and council makes the decisions. We don't know what went on. This is like slapping a building against somebody's home. And I get they're looking at a future vision, but you know, those people may stay in their home for the next 20 years. And they're gonna have this wall up against them, and I just don't understand how, you know, we're being told that, well, planning wanted us to do 0 setbacks. Like you know, this is a large building versus whatever's beside there now, a 2-story, 3 stories. It's a massive difference. Usually when you do these kinds of developments, it's consolidated, you know, you try to have projects lined up that you're not impacting somebody's home. So I honestly don't understand why this is a committee application. I really don't.
Again, we run into this all of the time with respect to future vision, and as Lisa had indicated, that we're not disagreeing that those discussions are going on, and then in the future that the policy framework and the performance standards for this area are probably planning to be much different than they are currently. But that's not where we're faced with, and we don't even know what the new one might be, because it's not in force. The OP is not in force, and the related bylaw, once that OP is in force, is not done. So it's, you know, everybody else who's been involved in, oh yeah, the policy framework's going to be no setbacks at all, and you know, these are what the performance standards are. That's not what we're dealing with now. Although we can appreciate that in a major transit corridor, things are going to change. No one is denying that. But I think on the basis of what is before us now and the provisions of the bylaws, which we're supposed to look at, and the intent and purpose of the in-force official plan and zoning bylaw, I can't support this as a minor variance application, and I wouldn't be able to approve it.
Is that a motion?
It can be a motion. I move a motion to, for all of the reasons that we've all stated, that under the current context, planning context and policy context, that the application be refused.
Okay, do I have a seconder? All right, motion to refuse, moved by Ms. Hayes, seconded by Mr. Niffel. All in favor? Okay, that motion carries unanimously. Thank you, everybody, for your time today, and the committee stands adjourned at 5:33 p.m.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Have a good night. Yeah, thank you.
Good night.
Sabrina?
Yes.
Who is the person that connects the participants when someone calls in and he's trying to connect them and they're not there?
Today it's
Oh, so that's our
Lori.
host role, so it changes. Today it's Lori.
Okay, he was great. Very, very patient and very helpful, and I was very impressed with his performance.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
See you
Thanks,
guys.
everybody.
Bye.
Yeah, see you.
Bye.